Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm, and you are watching fourth part of What If Naruto Became Demonic Nemesis. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, wasting no more time, let's start the story.
After Kakashi and Kira's conversation, the majority of the day was spent traveling in silence because neither Naruto nor Kira wanted to respond to any of the questions posed to them. While Sasuke and Sakura stayed by Hoeido, Naruto, Hinata, and Kira stayed together because Tazuna, the renowned bridge builder, was staying so close to Kakashi that it was uncomfortable for the man in the mask. After spending half the day walking, Kakashi stated, "Up ahead is where we turn to head to the port and get a ride to Wave Country, but because we decided to drop off Hoeido Sand first, we will need to head to the left and into Rice Country and up through Iron Country." Since they had all been informed of this previously, the group members simply dismissed this information. As they all walked past a tiny puddle in the road, it was just another piece of information to be filed away for the genin. For some reason, Kira and Naruto tensed instantly and stood back to back as soon as they had finished passing the little bit of water. As his left hand rises in front of him in a protective stance, Naruto's right hand rises to rest on the hilt of his sword. With her right hand resting on her wakizashi's grip, Kira has her left hand raised in front of her, her claws outstretched. As soon as he notices their response, Sasuke immediately becomes vigilant and searches for anything. Hinata assumes the basic stance of the Jukin, and both men move to hide behind their guards as soon as they realize there may be danger nearby. Sakura yells, "What is wrong with you two? There's nothing here." While Kakashi just keeps walking past the puddle and reading his book, seemingly oblivious to the tense atmosphere. She stops screaming just as two men emerge from the puddle, dressed in dingy gray armor and clothing resembling demons. Their hair was spiky black, their cloaks were ragged and gray, and their lower faces were covered in metallic masks. Before anyone could respond, Kakashi was encircled by a spiked chain that was fastened to the metal gauntlets with claws. The two men made a gory spectacle out of pulling the chain, tearing Kakashi to pieces and sending a rain of blood and flesh crashing to the ground with a loud thud. The pair's only badly jumbled words were, "One down," before they vanished from view once more. Then, they reappeared, heading directly toward Sakura and Hinata with the blood-soaked chain ready to rip both of them and the bridge builder to pieces. Sakura was able to leap in front of Tazuna with a kunai in hand while the twin demons blurred toward them just by sheer training. Even though Hinata was yelling at herself to move, her body refused to cooperate. "Move, move, move. Why can't I move? I can see every move those monsters make. It would be easy to catch them, so why? Why can't I do this?" When Sasuke realized the girls were in danger, he cursed himself for leaving them. He had taken to protecting Hoeido and was too far away, perspiring as he reached for his weapons. "No, I'm going to die like this? Naruto-kun, I'm sorry I couldn't be stronger for you," was all Hinata could think as she closed her eyes and watched the two girls and the elderly man disappear into a blur of red and gray around the spiked chain. The discomfort never materialized. When Hinata slowly opened her eyes, she saw a red, swirled blue jacket inches in front of her face and could definitely hear something grinding. As soon as her eyes fully opened, she saw her Naruto-kun standing before her, his arms and shirt torn apart by the bloody chain that had just killed their sensei. Hinata saw the most exquisite sword she had ever seen at that point. It was a silver blade with a soft, serene blue sheen that was polished. A small piece of polished black metal, appearing to be engraved with some strange kanji, seemed to merge with the silver blade as the sword's hilt ended. The blade's serene blue hue was contrasted with a fierce red kanji. She turned to see that Kira was wielding a blade that resembled Naruto's exactly, save that it pulsed a light orange. Red color with a blue glow around the kanji instead of a blue energy. Kira blocked the chain in the other direction, her blade held reversed in her hand and supported against her crossed forearms. Hinata turned around once more and saw a shuriken pinning another section of the lethal chain to a tree, with a kunai through its center. Kira's wakizashi, Naruto's katana, and Sasuke's throwing weapons were forming a perfect triangle and helping to bring the entire gory chain back. The two demon-like shinobi battled to break free while Hinata and everyone else appeared to be reacting similarly to the unusual new weaponry. Despite the fact that it was a fatal circumstance, Naruto couldn't help but recall his training day when he had first drawn the blade. A couple of weeks prior, Naruto and Kira had been meeting with seasoned Junin Gecko Hayate for the past few days in order to start their kenjutsu training. To put it mildly, the man was a sadist by training and would never, ever play around with them. Their skills were constantly put to the test from the moment he arrived until the moment he left. He insisted that experience and skill were the foundation of Kenjutsu. It had little or nothing to do with talent. Jutsu would arrive on schedule. When two Kenjutsu users meet, skill and experience are the only things that matter. All I will teach you is the resolve to fight, the way to create your own style, and I will give you the experience, Hayate would always say, and that's exactly what the sadistic bastard did. He made Kira and Naruto practice with weighted training swords for a continuous 2 weeks. One was always practicing the fundamental kata for a common style, while the other was sparring with Hayate. Never in their lives had Naruto and Kira felt as sore as they had over the past week. When they complained, Hayate would only respond, "If this were a real sword, you would not be able to complain. Just be sure to remember the pain, because a taijutsu strike is much easier to survive than a sword wound," each time they left the smallest opening. Hayate made sure they would never forget it. This is how Kira and Naruto acquired their Kenjutsu knowledge. Through pain, Hayate would only humiliate them in a spar and tell them that there was no point in teaching the two of them anymore until they could cut him, regardless of how much they asked him to teach them a jutsu or finish their training in a style they had started. That's how he eventually told Naruto and Kira about the laws of the sword, which they should always remember. If you want me to continue teaching you Kenjutsu, there are 3 things you must always remember. First, your style belongs to you and you alone. Second, teaching your style to someone else is a disgrace to all of your own work in the student's promise. A technique or jutsu can be easily passed on and worked into any style, but to truly master Kenjutsu, or anything for that matter, you must make it your own. Just because someone has said you have mastered something does not mean you have mastered it. It only means you have mastered it in their eyes. How far you can truly take something is truly up to you. I'm not teaching you a style of combat. I'm helping you forge your own, and because of that, your style is your own and could never be truly used by another to its full potential. The art of the sword is the art to kill. Therefore, unless you are ready to carry out that task, never use your sword. Drawing your blade will only dishonor your steel and weaken your resolve in the heat of combat. Finally, refrain from drawing your sword against unarmed opponents. A blade is meant to meet another in battle. As shinobi, we are assassins. Hired killers. That is a fate we accepted when we put on these hitai. 8. But as Kenjutsu users, we are held to a conduct to fight with our all when we meet each other. To do any less would be a disgrace to your spirit as a swordsman, Hayate said, letting out a deep breath and appearing to have aged 10 years. At this point, Kira and Naruto are attempting to figure out how any of these rules relate to pride. Isn't a defeated enemy still a defeated enemy? Hayate. Sensei, what do you mean, our pride? How are any of these rules important for Kenjutsu? Replied Naruto. This is true for all shinobi. Your reputation as a strong shinobi brings missions not only for yourself but also for your village, which in turn means the prosperity and wealth of the village grows. This is why shinobi train so hard. Our skill is the village's income and future. As a shinobi, your pride is the accomplished mission, your respected and feared reputation, and the prosperity of your village. But, as a Kenjutsu practitioner, your pride is your own skill and the opponents you hold in the highest regard, because they alone can show that your skill has truly increased. To a shinobi, a defeated opponent just means you were the stronger, more skilled, and the better. But to a Kenjutsu user, a defeated opponent means one more rise in skill, one more piece of proof that your art is the better, and most of all, that they died with honor after giving their all. These are the words my first sensei in Kenjutsu taught me. He and I only trained for a week before he left me. He told me these rules, gave me my sword, and told me to train hard. He was the Yondaime Hokage, and just like he told me after that week, I telling you, I have no more to teach you. This stunned Kira and Naruto into silence. Then, as Hayate began to walk away, Kira exclaimed, Hayate. Sensei, how can we be done? We haven't even been training for 2 weeks yet. In an attempt to learn something, Naruto said, all we've done is spar and go through kata from scrolls. You have to have a few jutsu to teach us? Until he coughed and threw a kunai at Kira and Naruto, Hayate just watched with bored eyes. Within seconds, Naruto had caught the kunai heading toward him while Kira was able to effortlessly avoid her own. See, 2 weeks ago those kunai would have pierced your necks. When we began training, the two of you couldn't even see my sword strikes unless you used those red eyes of yours, and even then it was barely. Now you can actually dodge me. Your skills have greatly improved in the last 2 weeks, and you have learned the basic kata for over 4 styles. The same 4 styles I began with. Now it is time to go and create your own style with them. Find your own jutsu, and become a true kenjutsu user. When you can return to me and are able to cut me, I will be more than willing to teach you my jutsu, but until then, find your own way, your own style, your own strength, and vanished into a swirl of foliage. Kira crossed her arms, frowning. Damn, he talks as if a sword was some holy relic or something. But I can really see where he's coming from. I mean, if you created something that's all your own, wouldn't you be careful about not only how you used it, but who you taught it to as well? Replied Naruto. I guess so, but he seemed just so serious about it. Like those rules were law, Kira said, her eyes pouting. Well, those were the rules told to him by his sensei. If the Yondaime believed them, then it must be true. But in all the history I've heard, I don't remember anything about the Yondaime using swords, plus, from what Hayate Sensei told us, he trained with us for another whole week than what he got. Yeah, that Yondaime was something else. I don't think I will ever find another human that could challenge me at that level, but with the swords we have, his rules don't apply, Naruto. Kun. How's that, Kira-chan? I would think, from how you just spoke of the Yondaime, that his rules would seem at least a little important. Well, all the rules Hayate told us were based on the idea of a sword being able to kill. Unlike regular swords, we can use ours without the worry of killing someone if we chose not to. With his typical perplexed expression on his face, Naruto could only watch and wonder, what the fuck are you saying now? With a smile on her face, Kira said, just unseal the Daisho set and I will explain.
Without saying anything more, Naruto unseals the blades from his scroll, opens it, and hands them to Kira while maintaining a cold, hard look.
Naruto was simply in awe of the katana's beauty when she withdrew it, but he was immediately confused by something. Kira-chan, it looks like a normal sword, it even has an edge to it. How are we not supposed to kill with this? This, Naruto-kun, is the reason I said that the rules don't apply to us. Kira then uses the blade to swing smoothly at a nearby tree, making an almost half-inch deep indentation in its trunk with a faint red orange energy pulse. Naruto observes that the indent was smooth, appearing as though it was simply pressed down, as he examines the damage. There are no cut marks or splinters, just a smooth indent. Kira looked at him and started to explain. Just as with everything else that I have given you, from your abilities to the Kagiraneosite stone, this blade works by drawing on your energy to work. This blade is made of purified Kagiraneosite and silver. As you just saw, unlike your stone, this blade is simply a focusing point for energy. The focusing point is this metal plate at the base of the blade. The kanji you see here will change depending on the ability it is using. As far as I know, there should be 5 total. The first, as you can see, is the Shindo Degeki, Impact Strike. When you focus chakra into this blade, it releases a burst of stored energy along the blade when it connects with another surface. This makes it so you do not need to kill to use this weapon unless you want to. Standing in awe of the blade, Naruto watched in fascination as Kira seemed to pour more energy into it, turning it into a fiery red. The kanji, which had been glowing red, then changed to say, Yoko. Kiwa, Crimson Edge, turning blue in the process. This, Naruto-kun, is the second ability of the sword. It takes the stored energy in the Kagiraneosite and compresses it around the blade to give it a razor's edge made of chakra. This lets it cut through things a normal blade could not, such as other swords and armors, to name a few. Unfortunately, it cannot cut through chakra when at this stage. Also, in this state it loses the ability to impact, but if you're at the point where you need to cut through something, I doubt you would need it. You said that the kanji stood for the 5 powers of the sword, but you only told me 2. What are the other 2? Was the question Naruto had to ask after giving the blade some thought. As Kira threw as much power into the blade as she could without frightening half the village, you really are getting sharper, aren't you? To tell you the truth, the first 2 abilities are all I know of, Naruto-kun, but nothing changed save for the blade's brightening glow. Naruto assumed his perplexed stance and said, how is that possible? I thought you said these swords were made for you? How could you not know? Yes, but this Kagiraneosite blade was not made for any particular use, unlike the jewel's capacity to create their shield and blade. You have to realize that Kagiraneosite is an element that Kami-sama himself created, and it was never meant to be used by anybody for anything. Kira paused to collect herself before reversing the blade's original configuration. Kagiraneosite was originally a way for the world and universe itself to collect and recycle its energies, drawing it in quickly and then releasing it again over millennia. When it is exposed to energy, it adapts itself to work with, store, and release that energy in a purified form to continue the cycle of life in the universe. This stone, in essence, is alive and meant to be a carrier of energy in all forms. The first two abilities were created when I first drew the blades and exposed them to Mayuki, but I never kept them with me long enough to find what kind of powers the last three were, or even if there were only three more. Since the kanji don't appear until the power is used, we have no way of knowing what they are or even if they have been decided yet. Now that the sword is in your hands, who knows what the last three will be? All we can do is to wait and see what effects your unique energy has on the Kagiraneosite. As he raises the katana, Naruto stands up and gives Kira the wakizashi while grinning slightly. Well, if using them is the only way to find out, then let's, Kira says, drawing her blade, and the two of them realize they've discovered a new morning workout. Blocking the chain. So, it seems the old man has better protection than we were told of, said one of the two attacking shinobi as they struggled to free the chain. Naruto and Kira smirk as they began to feed more energy into their blades, and watched as both of the blades ignited a fiery red and slid right through the chain as if it wasn't even there. Then, with a smooth kick from Naruto and Kira, both of the strange shinobi were sent in different directions. Both blades pulsed once again before returning to the peaceful blue and orange. Red as Naruto and Kira began to chase the shinobi. After being separated, both of the demonic shinobi circle around to the other side of the girls and Tazuna, brandishing their claws, but before they could land a strike on Sakura or the frozen Hinata, Naruto dropped his blade and appeared right in front of them to catch both of the metallic claws with his own. Damn, I really need to learn how to raise that shield faster. If I had tried to block with my sword, one of their attacks would have gotten through, and the shield takes too long to raise. Damn, those claws really hurt. As blood slowly drips from Naruto's hands, the grungy shinobi said, "Well, we did not intend to kill you this way, but it is satisfactory," was the garbled comment from one of the attackers as they both had an evil look to their eyes. "Kill me? You really are far too confident, but I would have preferred to stop you without impaling myself," was Naruto's smirking reply as he dug his own claws into the metal ones, to the horror of the demon. Like shinobi. Then, with a primal roar, Naruto swings them around and threw them in different directions once again, tearing their gauntlets apart as they dragged across his own claws. The first of the shinobi slams right into a tree, slightly splintering it, to only be met by Sasuke's Fuma shuriken circling around him, binding him with wire. "You need to pay attention to everyone in this fight and not just the dobi," said Sasuke, after securing the shinobi and placing Hoedo behind a tree. As the last shinobi sprinted toward Hinata and Sakura, Naruto began moving as fast as he could to help them, until a horrible burning in his hands brought him to his knees. As Naruto gazed at his hands, he saw to his horror the shallow gashes in his hands from the shinobi's clawed gauntlets, which normally would have healed on their own, were now smoldering a bright red and yellow instead of the normal blue of his healing. Kira, seeing and feeling this completely, forgets about the other shinobi and rushes to his side, just as Kakashi appears to catch the last shinobi in a headlock as if he were a mere child. Everyone seeing Kakashi alive responds in their own way. Sasuke, for his part, only huffs as he leads Hoedo out to the rest of the group. Sakura just sighs in relief as she falls on the ground. Hinata was still fazed at what had happened. Tazuna could only think, "I don't know how they did it, but they did. I'm safe, for now." After Kakashi secured the second shinobi next to the first against the tree, he turns and said, "I'm sorry that I didn't help you guys sooner, but I didn't expect them to be this strong, or for Hinata to freeze up like that. I would have thought a Hyuga would have been better trained." As Hinata was heading to Naruto's side, she saw a glare aimed at her from Kira. When she heard what Kakashi had said, Hinata realized it. If I hadn't frozen up, Naruto wouldn't have been hurt. Those words stung for Hinata worse than Kakashi could have imagined. Am I really still so weak? I came to help Naruto Kun, and now he's hurt because he had to protected me. Just as Hinata passed Sasuke on her way to Naruto's side, the impassive Uchiha said, "Something wrong, Scaredy? Cat? You looked like you saw a demon back there." "Shut it, Sasuke. Teme, as I remember, you froze up the first time I used killing intent on you." said Naruto, still holding his glowing hands in front of his face. The group all gathered around to see what was wrong as Naruto turned to Kira and asked, "What's going on? Shouldn't these have healed by now?" His voice was strained as the burning in his hands increased and his claws extended, as if trying to expel whatever was happening. Kira was silent for a moment, thinking of what the problem could be. This must be his healing trying to deal with poison. Since he's never been exposed to a poison before, his body is responding to it as a threat, just like when he was exposed to the flood of Mayuki from that jutsu. His body is altering itself to adapt to the poison instead of just purging it, like it would do with any other foreign body, but before she could voice her thoughts, Kakashi cut in. These shinobi had poisoned their claws. We need to get back to the village so we can get that wound treated. We're canceling this mission anyway for other reasons, said Kakashi as he glanced at Tazuna. When Kakashi said that, everyone looked at him as if he was crazy, until they noticed his line of sight. Naruto then said, "I will heal just fine, and even if I need someone to heal me, Hinata should do just fine. I've been teaching her basic healing, just give me a moment and we can go." Kakashi looked annoyed for a moment before saying, "Even putting your injury aside, Naruto, those shinobi are the Demon Brothers, Kirigakure Chunin. Level missing nin, famous for their willingness to fight to the end. It is obvious to me that they were after Tazuna-san, because even when they had the chance to get any of us alone as a target, they continued to target him." Kira had taken to lightly licking the wounds on Naruto's hand, much to everyone's surprise and a giggling fit for Kakashi. Hinata was kneeling right next to Naruto when Kira said, "You don't need to worry about Naruto-kun. He will be fine in a little while. His healing ability has never had to deal with poison before, so instead of just healing the gashes like normal, his body is trying to adapt to poison instead of just purging it." Everyone in the group was just gawking at this point, including Naruto. How is it possible for the Dobi to adapt to poison, and why the heck are you licking him? Asked a shocked and rather curious Sasuke as the group continued to watch Kira slowly bring her tongue across the gashes in Naruto's hands. Kira glanced up at Sasuke as she brought her tongue across the gashes once more before she said, "Naruto-kun's healing has already dealt with the poison, so there is no danger. But for the wound to close it needs to be cleaned first." Kakashi's sweat dropped as he just had to ask, "But isn't there other ways? Like a cloth, for example, or even some water?" After Kira pulls out a roll of bandages and removes Naruto's gloves, she begins wrapping them. She then looks over to Kakashi with a devious smirk and says, "This way is just more fun." The others in the group couldn't help the small nosebleed they now carried because of the train of thought Kira had just imposed on them. Howeito though seemed oblivious to the situation as he looked on almost bored. Kira relaxes as she asked, "You all know about Naruto's special abilities, do you not?" After a nod from all the shinobi, and confused looks from the civilians, she continues. "Well, what you don't know is he really only has 3 total. All of the others are just side effects of the 3 intermixing. Just like with a dojutsu, as I explained to you all before. The 3 abilities that Naruto has are his stronger denser chakra, his dojutsu, and his healing factor," said Kira as she finished wrapping Naruto's hands. "Anyo, Kira. Nichan, how is it that Naruto-kun can adapt to poison because of that? The ability to heal himself doesn't sound like it should be able to do that," asked Hinata, only to get a rather fierce glare from Kira that clearly said, "We talk later." Kira took a moment, then looked back at Naruto's hands. "Normally no, as far as I can tell, Naruto-kun's healing ability works with or without chakra. It is a natural function of his body just as much as breathing. His special chakra seems to strengthen it to a point of almost regeneration. This is how his body is doing it. A normal human body naturally identifies threats to itself and deals with them accordingly, from simply attacking them to trying to expel them, in other words, fevers to burn them out or well, other ways. Naruto's body, on the other hand, seems to determine threats by either classifying them as not being a concern and simply heals itself, or, in the case of something like poison, it tries to make itself immune or at least resistant to it, like a normal person does with a cold." Once Kira was done speaking, not only Naruto, but everyone was blinking from utter confusion, including the foreign shinobi. "So you are saying that anything Naruto comes in contact with that is deemed a threat by his body will force him to adapt, in a way as to make it less of a threat?" asked Kakashi in a worried tone, as the genin were trying to understand and the clients were just trying to ignore them so not as to get a headache. "Kira-chan, this does sound a little far-fetched. I mean, my healing I can understand, but changing just because of a little poison? Asked Naruto through their mental link. I know, Naruto-kun. I will give you a better explanation later, but unless you want them to know that you are a true demon on the rise, I think it would be better to let me finish my bending of the truth since you know they won't drop the questions until they get an answer. No, only something truly unique could cause this to happen. The poison these nin used was very potent, Naruto-kun has never even been exposed to a poison before. I very much doubt that anything else would cause something like this, unless it was some other rare poison or disease. Just as Kira finished, she could see the stupefied and non-believing looks of the other shinobi, so she just decided to say, unless Naruto-kun starts turning green and choking, we have nothing to worry about. So why don't we turn to our resident, Cyclops, for why we should cancel the mission since we don't need to worry? As the entire group once again turns to Kakashi, the one-eyed Junin couldn't help but think, this girl knows too much about Naruto, there must be something about her I am not seeing, but what? And how is it I am continuously being outsmarted, insulted, and outdone by a preteen girl with orange and red hair? Well, back to the reason I did not help you sooner is, because I noticed a puddle in the road on our way here. It has been hot and sunny for days, so there is no reason for there to be a puddle. This was a clear sign to me of shinobi in the area. If you saw this, then why did you allow us to come under attack? I am paying good money for protection, and do not appreciate being scared out of my wit and put in danger, said Hoedo, with a slight edge and a glare. As Kakashi raised his hands in a placating manner, he said, I realize my methods seem a little off, but I assure you, I needed to do that to find out the target of these two. Kakashi finished by pointing at the demon brothers. What is that supposed to mean, Kakashi? Asked Sasuke. Well, neither of our clients stated in their mission requests that they needed protection from shinobi, so these two were either here waiting to ambush someone else, or we were misinformed about the mission specifics. I needed to know if they were after one of our clients, one of us shinobi, or if they were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. As everyone's eyes go wide at the realization, Kira couldn't help but say, I guess he really is more than an open pervert. Kakashi couldn't do anything else but drop his head as he mumbled, attacking a man's reading material is just low. After snickering for a moment, both Naruto and Kira pull out their own copies of Ichi Paradise Volume 1. Super Gold Perverted Edition. As Kira says, it's not the reading material that makes you an open pervert. It's that you read it in the open in front of children, and I don't want to know what you do when you're alone with it. At the sight of the books, Sakura sputters, Sasuke broods with a smirk, Hinata blushes, and both of the clients look reserved as Kakashi says, how can you call me a pervert when you read them too? That's easy, Kaka-sensei, said Kira in a sultry voice. You read them in the open and alone, then with a sly foxy grin, on the other hand, me and Naruto-kun read them together. Kira then slowly wraps her arms around Naruto and says, sometimes we even get Hinata-chan to join in. Hitaki Kakashi, son of Konoha's White Fang, former Anbu captain and one of the only students of the Yondaime Hokage, for the first time since he had walked in on his first female teammate changing, had totally fried his brain. Sakura was absolutely livid thinking, how am I supposed to compete with this slut for Sasuke-kun's attention? Once she drops Naruto and realizes Sasuke is the way to go, I'm done for.
Sasuke, for the first time in his life, had a slight nosebleed not once in the same day, not twice, but 3 times, even for the stoic Uchiha, the thought of 2 girls reading porn was just too tempting to the imagination. The old bridge builder lost consciousness due to extreme blood loss to be caught by Hoedo much to the man's displeasure, and Hinata, to Naruto and Kira's surprise, was still conscious, though no better off than Kakashi. Well Kira-chan, you successfully fried 2 brains, caused 1 cases of extreme blood loss, and finally got a humanoid reaction out of our resident emo, was Naruto's impressed reply. I do my best, Naruto-kun. If you think you can, why don't we make a few cage bunshin to set up camp for the night and get everyone settled, since it seems they will be out for a while. I would agree with that option because I would greatly appreciate getting this drunkard off me, commented Hoedo with irritation clearly in his voice. I think that would be for the best, replied Naruto as he started settling everyone down and treating the older men for blood loss. Several hours later. As Tazuna was stirring from his sleep, he couldn't help but think, how much did I drink last night?
Then, as the happenings of a few hours before came back to him of when his severe nosebleed happened, he noticed he was laying in an open field on a sleeping mat with the stars above him, clearly showing it was nighttime. Damn, if the orange-haired girl is like this now, what in Cammy's name will she be in 5 years? As he stood up, he noticed a mid-sized camp set up, with everyone else gathered around a fire a few feet away. Well, it looks like our bridge builder is finally up, said Kakashi, closing his book. Now we can decide on what to do after getting his explanation. Tizuna was very aware of what Kakashi wanted to know, and as he sat down, he was very aware that everyone wanted to know what he was going to say. He took a moment to look over everyone to see what his situation was. The black-haired boy was just sitting quietly as he stared. The loud pink and red one was still hanging close to the brooder. The one with the white eyes, though, looked as if she was in another world with a glazed look to her. The strange orange-haired one, Kira was her name, hard to forget that one, he thought as he remembered the book. She was still next to the blonde like always. The blonde still had his hands wrapped, and was working on turning a piece of meat that was on a spit that he had gotten from somewhere. Finally, Hoedo was next to the sensei. Tizuna-san, there is something I need to ask you before we move on with the mission. I need the identity of those that are after you. If you don't tell us, then our mission with you ends now. I will take you back to Konoha myself, and have my team protect Hoedo-san until I return, Kakashi said to the old bridge builder, adding the threat to the question. For a moment, Tizuna was quiet, and Kakashi and the group kept a close eye on him. After waiting for several seconds with everyone's eyes on him, Tizuna decided to speak. Looks like I have no choice but to tell you. No, I want you to know. You're right. This is probably beyond the mission I requested. It turns out a super dangerous man is after my life. A super dangerous man is after you? Asked Hiro with interest, thinking that maybe this could be fun. Hi, replied Tizuna in a subdued voice. Who could be super dangerous? Asked Kakashi, with his book put away for a change. You've probably at least heard his name before. The wealthy shipping magnate, a man named Gatu. Kakashi's and Hoedo's eyes pop open. Huh, Gatu, you don't mean the Gatu from that Gatu company? He's said to be one of the world's few extremely wealthy people. Kakashi nearly gasped. Yes, officially he runs a large shipping company, but secretly he sells drugs and other illegal items, using ninja and gang members to take over businesses and countries. He's a very nasty businessman. It was about a year ago he set his eyes on the wave country. Through financial and violent means, he quickly took control of the country's shipping industry. Since he controls the shipping routes, which are the life of a small island country, Gatu now has a monopoly on all business traffic. The only thing Gatu has to fear now is the completion of the bridge, Tizuna replied, telling the rest of the group of his painfully depressing home. I see, since you're building the bridge, you're in the way, Sakura stated aloud to clear it for herself. So, those ninjas from earlier were hired by Gatu? Said Sasuke, getting even more interested in his first C rank. Kakashi took a moment to think before he spoke, but what I don't understand is. If you knew Shinobi could be after you, why did you hide that fact when you hired us? My team is exceptional for Genin, but there was a very good chance that you could have gotten a weaker team. Battling other Shinobi makes this at least a B rank mission, and if we see a Junin, it will climb to A rank. If you hadn't gotten lucky, you could have been killed. With a deep sigh and a guilty look, Tizuna said, the wave country is super poor because of Gatu. Even the daimyo has very little money now. Tizuna answered. Of course, we don't have much money either, not enough for an expensive B rank mission or above. If you quit the mission now, I will definitely be killed before I even reach my home, but don't worry about it. If I die, my cute 8-year-old grandson will just cry uncontrollably. The entire group just couldn't help but sweat drop. And my daughter will live a sad, lonely life hating Leaf Village Ninja forever and ever. But it's not like it will be your fault, or anything. Everyone looked at each other or down. Empathy from Sakura or just embarrassment for the bad acting from the rest of the group. Kakashi was using his index finger to scratch his forehead protector as he thought, blackmail us, why don't you? Don't worry about that, old man. Kakashi Sensei will protect you. Not to mention we are all here, replied Naruto before anyone could say something. Well, it isn't up to us alone. Even if we as shinobi are willing to continue, that doesn't mean that San is willing to risk his life because San decided to lie to us. The only reason both missions were assigned to us was because they were in the same direction and had the same rank. As everyone turned to Hoedo, he said, tell me this, Kakashi-san. If I was to say that I would accept this situation, what would you do? Asked Hoedo in a calm voice. Well, I would keep a closer watch on the surroundings, now that we know that Gatu is hiring Nin from Kirigakure. I can instruct my students to look for the same signs. This will make it easier to anticipate their moves. Not to mention we are taking you home first and out of Mizu no Kuni territory, so I doubt they would follow us into Raiko, replied Kakashi. Using a more serious tone, what if I were to ask you to let me take some of your students as my escort for the remainder of the journey, and ask you to keep Tazuna away from me? This certainly caught everyone off guard. I'm sorry, Hoedo-san, but I can't let my students travel without me. It's just not done with new genin. Besides, you paid for protection from a full team, said Kakashi, trying to avoid the turn this mission was taking. No offense to you, Kakashi-san, but I can assure you that there are no shinobi after my life, and from the performance of your team, I can be sure that a few of them will be enough. From the route you pointed out earlier, it would be simple for the group to split up. I would take 3 of your students and have them bring me the rest of the way. It should only take 2 or 3 days, and the village you spoke of getting a ride to Wave from is still 3 or 4 days away. Tazuna would only need to wait 2 days at the most to move on, and I would be out of harm's way. The entire group couldn't help but agree. It wasn't fair for this man to be in danger just to let Tazuna get home. Kakashi had to think long and hard. He was silent for nearly 10 minutes before he spoke. If I was to agree to this plan, Hoedo-san, exactly who would you wish to take as your escort, since it seems you are not considering me? You are very sharp. I am not the one in danger, so if it is alright with you, I would like to take these 2, said Hoedo, pointing to Naruto and Kira as they were finishing up dinner that had been cooking over the fire. Those 2 reacted perfectly during the attack. They seemed familiar with each other, said they were partner. Trained by what they said earlier, and as far as I can see, they can provide me with everything I need. Food, medical attention, protection, and they even seem knowledgeable of the world. Naruto and Kira only stop and look at each other before shrugging and Naruto saying, "It doesn't matter to us, Kakashi-sensei. As you said, Tazuna-san is the one being hunted, and we would meet up with you in 4 or 5 days. Even less once we drop Hoedo-san off, since we would be able to move faster. Plus, as he said, we could bring someone else with us." All the genins nod at the idea, Sakura only after Sasuke had. After a moment and a drop of his head, "We really don't have a choice. We will continue to protect you, Tazuna-san. We will split up in the morning. Do you have an idea of who you would like to have as the 3rd member, Hoedo-san?" Kakashi replied as he thought, at least he chose the 2 reliable ones. Hinata seems too meek for this. She needed more training before she was allowed on a C rank. Sakura, I'm sorry to say, is still useless other than support, but she is getting better, and Sasuke is a good fighter, but I doubt I can trust him alone yet. He would jump in too quickly. Naruto has medical training and seems to be more versatile. I doubt that even I could kill him that easily if I tried. As for this Kira, other than her being connected to Naruto, all I know is she has that unrestricted passport. It could be worse. I will leave that up to these 2. They are the ones protecting me, said Hoedo as he shifted in his seat. After Naruto and Kira handed out the food, they said they needed some time to think things over and plan their route to Raiko no Kuni. When asked if they were going to eat, they said they had eaten their portion as they were cooking. As everyone started to eat their portion of meat and rice after Naruto and Kira had disappeared into the wood, they all fell silent after their first bite. Naruto and Kira started sitting next to each other on a high branch after they had gotten a good distance apart. They enjoyed their time together alone while remaining silent for a while. Staying together and not doing anything. Too long had passed since they could be together like this. Training, missions, reading, and chores were the constants. It seemed to go on forever. Naruto-kun, do you believe that this is a smart idea? Kira softly leaned on Naruto's shoulder and said, I mean, it's not like I don't think we can handle ourselves, but do you think that we're ready to protect someone else's life? To be honest, Kira-chan, I think we are more than capable of defeating any non-shinobi. I'm confident that we will be alright as long as we are together. I can only worry about the possibility of a shinobi attack. We could watch Hoedo-san, but I'm not sure. I observe. We can take care of ourselves just fine, but if there were enough shinobi around, Hoedo might be taken out. We've already agreed, Naruto-kun. Who should we bring along? Naruto sighed deeply and gave a thoughtful look before saying, I'm not sure anymore, but after Hinata froze up like that, I wouldn't have said anything before we left the village. Perhaps it was something new, or perhaps it was something more. Sakura isn't yet prepared for a major battle, so Sasuke needs to stay with Kakashi as backup. However, she clearly demonstrated her shinobi instincts there. I concur regarding Sasuke. While having him would be nice, it would be foolish to leave Kakashi alone with Sakura and Hinata. If they sent Chunin against us previously, they will probably send another one when they don't report in, and even if they stay in the seaside village until we get there, there's a good chance they'll be attacked again. Taking Sasuke would then undoubtedly be a bad idea. There's not much of a chance of beating a Chunin, not with you and me either. If that does occur, Kakashi is our only hope. If only we could draw on more Yuki. A Chunin would be no problem. Kira exclaimed as she balled her fist and struck the tree, slightly cracking it. With a gentle grin, Naruto draws Kira nearer and says, many things would be simpler if we could accomplish that. But as you've already stated, from here, we can only get stronger. We'll be able to take a Chunin or even more in no time. All we need is the skill of a Chunin, since we already possess their power. You're right, Naruto-kun, but this still doesn't solve the problem of who to take with us. Well, Sasuke was already eliminated. Sakura could be taken so we could teach her the fundamentals of medical ninjutsu, but Hinata is in the same boat. She can also practice taijutsu with us, but her sudden freezing, I'm sure she would be dead if Kakashi hadn't shown up when he did, Naruto remarked, casting a downward glance. Naruto-kun, I have no idea what to say. I just don't know now, even though I was so certain I could trust her to handle herself. We will need to keep a close eye on her and find out what happened if we decide to take her. I don't think it was just that cowardly intention to kill. Okay, the matter is resolved. This time, we'll take Hinata and attempt to identify the problem. Wow, we need to figure out why she froze up after all of the other signs of shyness, perversity, and lack of confidence. We used more than just the killing intent against her during training, and she hardly even batted an eye. Look at it this way, Kira-chan. We will never be bored around her, plus it's sinfully fun to make her blush. While Kira and Naruto were laughing heartily about how much fun they would have with the unfortunate Hyuga princess, a certain short-stature businessman was having a very negative experience. Also, Gato thought to himself, what kind of monster is he that he can lift that hunk of metal as if it were nothing? As he stared down the enormous sword blade. The man with the enormous sword questioned, who do you think you were speaking to? The terrified assistant next to Gato yelled, I mean no disrespect, sir, but the target has hired skilled ninja from the Leaf, and now that the Demon Brothers have failed, they will be looking for you or any other attack. Do not forget, I am Momochi Zabuza, the demon of the hidden mist. I will deal with this hit myself, he snorted. And I'll kill the old man with this sword, Kubiki Hucho. The trembling assistant moves forward once more, but they must be very talented, sir. There were 8 people in the group, 3 adults and 5 children, according to the report one of our watchers gave me. I was also informed that only 4 people engaged in combat. Zabuza, clearly annoyed, said, very well. Since you seem so sure, I will send out someone to observe them for now, and act on what I hear. Alright, but don't let me down or you'll regret it. Gato yelled, you have 1 week. And hurried out the door. A figure in a white mask asked, do you think it wise to work for that man? No, not at all. However, we require the funds, and he has assured us of a respectable sum.
For now, I would like you to leave and watch the group.
As soon as they head this way, report back to me. Hello, Zabuza. Persona. I'll observe and acquire as much knowledge as I can, the veiled figure uttered before vanishing behind a layer of ice. Haku, you really are the ultimate tool. The following morning, as the group was wrapping up the dismantling of the camp, Kakashi approached Naruto and Kira who had completed charting their path to Raiko no Kuni. While reading his book, Kakashi inquired, "You two ready to go?" Naruto and Kira give themselves a once over and nod as they get to their feet. Haku arrives just outside the clearing wearing a white mask and hunter's attire as everyone assembles to hear Kakashi's final words before parting ways. These are the skilled ninja? They look like new genin for the most part. The man there is the target, and the other is unknown, but the man with the gray hair seems familiar. I will have to be careful, Haku says. Haku was pulled out of these thoughts as Kakashi spoke. All right everyone, as you all know, we will be splitting into two groups now. One will be heading to Raiko with Hoedo San, and one going with Tazuna to wait in the fishing village. We should meet up again in 4 to 5 days to leave for Nami no Kuni. Naruto, you will be in charge of your group. Kira, I cannot give you orders, so just do your best. Now, who will you take with you? Kaka. Sensei, if it's okay with you, we would like to take Hinata with us, Naruto said, observing the disbelief on the faces of the others, particularly Hinata. Naruto-kun. Are you sure you want to take me with you? Especially to the... Hinata questioned, her voice even huskier than usual and stuttering a little. Hinata, Kira uttered in a firm tone that caught everyone off guard. I don't know what's been up with you lately, but get over it already. Ever since we left the village, you have been spacing out, and worse yet, you froze up against those Kiri. Ninja. You have been up against stronger killing intent from Naruto Kun and me, so why did you freeze up? It's like we are working backwards since we left. You even just stuttered again. Hinata was about to cry and was looking down when Naruto put his constricted hands on her shoulders in a reassuring manner. Hinata looked up at him, but she had to look down again in embarrassment as soon as she saw his hand. Hinata, isn't that Kumo? Was the next thing she heard Naruto say. A gleam from her tears permeates the air as Hinata raises her head once more, bringing everything together for everyone. The attempt at kidnapping was well known. In fact, the history lesson at the academy included a section on it. As soon as you heard that Hoedo San was heading for Raiko, you have been acting weird. I never thought about it until now. When those Kiri Nin were heading towards you, all you saw was that Kumo Nin. Kira walked over and put her arms around Hinata, saying, I'm sorry, Hinata Chan. I should have known, but I was too focused on the mission and Naruto Kun to even consider your feelings. At first, Hinata was shocked, but then she felt comforted and just allowed herself to be held by Kira. So that's it. Hinata is trying to face down her greatest fear for Naruto Kun. Have I become this blind to others' feelings? I guess being able to feel what Naruto Kun feels has made me a little dull at watching others, Kira thought to herself. Hinata's past had to be revealed to their two clients, and Kakashi had to explain to them what the three were discussing. It was alright with Sasuke. He knew how painful the past could be. Sakura sympathized with Hinata, but she wasn't sure why since she had never gone through anything similar. She found it difficult to relate. Hoedo couldn't help but remark, maybe it would be better to leave the child here with the sensei if she is afraid, as Tazuna could only imagine the emotion. Hinata confidently broke away from Kira and wiped her eyes at the end, saying, No. No, I want to go. I need to go. After saying, well, that settles it, Naruto and his group of 4 set out down the road into and through Rice Country, with Kakashi heading to the seashore of Fire Country. We will see you in 4 or 5 days, Kakashi Sensei. Be sure to wait for us. Haku was caught in a bind. The decision to follow and observe, that one is not the target and seems to be heading for Kumo territory. He is also taking 3 of the genin with him, had to be made because the group split was unexpected. The target is the priority. They said they were going to be meeting back up in 4.5 days, so I can observe the others then. I will have to send a message to Zabuza Sama about this turn of events. To put it mildly, the trip through Rice and Iron Country was uneventful. It sounded exactly like Rice Country. It consisted entirely of rice fields and farming villages. The group reached Iron Country in little more than a day. It was actually kind of nice to listen to Hoedo. The man was clearly very intelligent, based on the way he explained things and spoke. All of Iron Country, he told the genin, was essentially a valley encircled by rather large mountains, with a fairly large plain, where the city stood, in the middle. Iron and other metals were abundant in the mountains. Since these mountains provided nearly 70% of the iron ore used by the elemental countries, Iron Country was able to maintain its independence from all other countries. This land was torn apart in the last two shinobi wars as efforts were made to control it in the ore flow. After the Second War ended, all 5 of the great shinobi nations signed a treaty declaring that Iron Country would remain a separate but equal nation going forward in order to prevent it from happening again. Neutral in the sense that they could not refuse to supply or sell to any country, but united with everyone to sell ore. The treaty further stipulated that all other nations would declare a ceasefire to deal with the nation that had betrayed them. Hoeido gave the genin a brief history of this small nation, which piqued their curiosity. They had no idea that a tiny, unassuming nation could have such significance. What surprised me even more was the city. The sight of the city from the top of the mountain cliffs was breathtaking, even though they were unable to enter it because it was in their path. A nation that depended on mining should be small, gloomy, and home to many blacksmiths, but this city appeared more like a trading hub. Naruto had no choice but to inquire. Naruto questioned from their camp on the cliffs, Hoeido-san, why is that city so big and lit up? It almost looks like the night sky from here. Suda. Raito is a very busy trade village. It is true that this country is focused on iron ore, but it also is rich in gold, silver, and gems of all kinds. There are dozens of jewelers, smiths, smelters, artisans, and just about every shop you could imagine down there. That is what you see now. All of the forges, jewelry shops, bars and other things reflect off of each other to create the illusion of stars on the earth. That is the reason it is named the Star Light City, was Hoeido's reply. The 3 genin exchange the cutest look of unity as they ask, do you think we will have time to stop on our way back? They all lock eyes and laugh heartily, with Hoeido joining in. The 3 genin are staring longingly at the sparkling of the shopping heaven. They traveled through Rice Country and halfway into the Iron Country Mountains on the first day, and they arrived at Raiko no Kuni directly on the second. The group was shocked to see that, in contrast to the borders of Fire Country, there are no watchtowers, guard posts, or even patrols visible as they cross the border. Unless they were downwind, scentless, and able to turn invisible to a Byakugan, it would be absurd for anyone to be able to elude detection by a group of 2 fox demons and a Hyuga. They were leaving Hoeido and approaching the village just after noon. I would like to thank the 3 of you for guarding me all this way. You did a fine job, and I would say that the mission was a complete success, Hoeido said, turning to bow slightly as he came to a stop in front of the gate. I also wanted to say that I have never had better food while traveling than what you 2 prepared. Naruto bowed slightly for Hinata and Kira to mimic. Thank you very much, sir, and it was no problem. I believe that we all had fun traveling with you, or at least more so than with the drunken bridge builder, he said. Well, I must say I'm flattered by the compliment, and would like to insist that you all let me treat you to dinner tonight since you have fed me so well. With a gentle and quiet tone, Hinata said, actually, Hoeido-san, we really need to get going or else we might be late, to which Kira and Naruto nodded. So that's why you had Naruto-kun carry me through the mountains. You wanted to get some extra time to stop at Suda. Raito on the way back, Hoeido said, his expression thoughtful. Well, that's fine with me. I have business here anyway. I hope you enjoy your time in Suda. Raito, Kira-san, Hinata-san, Naruto-kun, Hoeido remarked with a slight smirk, as the 3 genin looked sheepish and averted their eyes. Kira bowed once more and said, thank you again, Hoeido-san. I'm glad our wish to go to the city didn't offend you. No, of course not, but if you want to make amends just in case, I will be needing guards again in about a month or so. I was originally going to hire Kumo-nin to escort me, but if you were willing, I would like to request your team again since Tazuna will most likely be home by then. Would you be willing? Asked Hoeido in a soft voice. Well then, I will be seeing you 3 in about a month. Be safe until then. I would hate to have to find more guards of your caliber. Hoeido concluded, turning away from the 3 genin and allowing a cruel smirk to play across his face. The 3 genin simply nod in unison as they look at each other. As Hoeido vanished from Naruto, Kira, and Hinata's line of sight, the 3 needed only a single glance before vanishing into a cloud of dust and returning to the Iron Country border, carrying memories of the starlit village with them. Hoeido might have been out of the young genin's sight, but they were most definitely not out of his. Hoedo was standing atop a nearby building just inside Kumogakure when he started to laugh softly and spoke to a figure that was hidden behind him. He was shadowed by the clouds. On the Iron Country cliffs, hours later. To their dismay, it was already dark when Naruto, Kira, and Hinata arrived on the cliffs overlooking the city of Star Light. Even for a ninja, it was foolish to travel these cliffs at night, even though Naruto and Kira could see just fine at night, dujutsu or not. Well, I guess we will have to wait until morning to see the city, right Naruto? Kun? Replied Kira. That would be the responsible, adult thing to do, Kira-chan. Not that we are adults or anything, said Naruto, adopting Iruka's classic lecture pose. No, we're not Naruto Kun, but we are on a mission. We would be in enough trouble if Kakashi Sensei found out we were stopping at the city in the first place, so we need to be cautious, Hinata said with a calm yet firm voice. With a deep breath, you're right, Hinata, we do need to be careful, and we will only get the morning hours to explore the town before leaving to rendezvous with Sensei. So we will need as much rest as possible to have fun. The three genin go to sleep, dreaming of the adventures they will have the next morning as they explore the glittering city, but for some reason, even with Kira-chan by his side, Naruto couldn't shake the uneasy feeling in the back of his mind that something wasn't quite right. It wasn't a warning or even a danger, more like something he had missed. The following day. It was the most fun that Naruto, Kira, and Hinata had ever experienced. For Naruto, being in an environment devoid of glares was incredibly refreshing. They all smiled at him even though none of them knew him. He could eat at any restaurant, go into any store, and even strike up a conversation with strangers without them reacting negatively. It was a place where Hinata was expected to perform well. She was free to express herself without fear of being perceived as a porcelain figure, as the people of Konoha did. She appeared to be on exhibit as the Hyuga people's pride. Kira was genuinely ecstatic. Naruto was with her. Hinata was grinning and content. That was ideal for her. She felt what Naruto felt, which she would characterize as a feeling of lightness. She was spending time with the two individuals she considered to be precious, and they were simply enjoying each other's company. Not practicing, not keeping an eye on the Hyuga nearby, and most importantly, they were together. I spent most of the day wandering from one store to the next, just to see what was available. From tiny stalls to expansive galleries, the streets were strewn with sparkling jewels and jewelry. Though Kira and Hinata dragged him to almost every jewelry store so he could peruse the exquisite pieces, Naruto generally thought the stores were a little dull. Following roughly 3 hours of perusing the stores, the trio made the decision to pause for lunch at an outdoor cafe. Naruto sat drinking a glass of tea and asked, "Are you two girls having fun?" The two girls just give him a big smile. "I guess that's a yes?" said Naruto with a softer expression on his face. "Once we're done here, we can stop at one more shop before we have to leave. It's going to take us a little over a day to get back to Kaka Sensei if we don't stop tonight." As Kira finished her lunch, she remarked, If we have time to stop at one more shop, I say we do. Who knows when we will get a chance to come here again." Naruto slurped some ramen and said, "I agree. So Hinata, where do you think we should go?" Kira picked the last gallery, and I got to go to the weaponsmiths, so it's your turn. Well, I did hear about a really famous shop at the center of town. The man I talked to said it was called Kinjin. Ray, Gold, Silver Spirit. It's supposed to be the best store for jewelry and decorative weapons. It's even supposed to carry a very good selection of practical weapons, Hinata said, a little taken aback by the question. Is little Hinata jealous of our weapons? I bet you just want to get one for yourself, Naruto remarks, reaching up to the sword's hilt. Kira couldn't help but giggle at Hinata's "It's okay, Hinata-chan, it would be a very good idea for you to take up a weapon style. Only having taijutsu is a big weakness of the Hyuga. That's why Naruto-kun has been teaching you medical ninjutsu, and I have been teaching you sweetened jutsu." Naruto finished his third bowl of ramen and said, "Speaking of that, Kira-chan, how far has Hinata come with her sweetened jutsu?" Kira gestures for Hinata to continue, saying, "I have learned the Mizu Bunshin, Sweeten, Suijin Heki, Water Wall, and a basic Mizuden, Water Bullet." Both of them then turned to face Naruto. Hinata blushed more as Naruto remarked, "That's quite the little library you have going. Pretty soon you'll know more jutsu than me, Hinata." Kira finished her lunch and said, Hinata, why not show Naruto Kun those 2 jutsu that you've been working on? I would love to see them, Hinata. Maybe I could even help you finish them? An observant Naruto said. Actually, Naruto Kun, I would prefer to wait until they're done to show you, but the first was just something I was doing to improve my control over the Mizuden. I was just forming the bullet, and instead of shooting it in one direction with built up chakra, I tried to move them around and increase the speed as I controlled its movements. It was Kira Nichan that suggested that I make it into a new jutsu. I still have a long way until it's done, but it should be useful. The other one is, well, it's just an idea right now, but I think it could be something. The things she had done focus. Just let me know when they're done. I would really like to see them, said Naruto as the waiter brought the check. We better get going to this. Kinjin. Ray, was it? Hinata nodded, and Naruto continued, we need to leave within the next 4 hours or so to be on time. After placing a few bills on the table, the 2 girls give a quick nod, and Naruto lets Hinata lead the way to another jewelry store. Away from Kinjin. Ray. Hinata wasn't kidding when she informed them that the man had claimed it was in the middle of the village. It was situated next to the town's judicial and management building, in the very heart of the village. The Kinjin. Ray had a rooftop seating area that appeared to be 3 stories tall. The 3 were astounded by the store's elegance as soon as they walked in. To them, it was like a spotless museum. Their eyes were met by perfectly polished dark wood floors and white walls. The room was filled with display cases showcasing various pieces of jewelry, and the first thing they saw upon entering was a polished marble staircase. Hinata and Kira had already begun perusing the display cases with stars in their eyes hardly a second after they had arrived. Even though some of the jewelry caught his eye, Naruto was not the jewelry type of guy, so all he could do was smile and think, it's nice to see my girls happy. My girls? Where did that come from? It doesn't matter anyway. It's just nice to see the both of them having fun. After some time spent perusing, he discovered a store map that made it clear where everything was located. Storage located in the basement. Not accessible to outside parties. First floor, accessories and jewelry. Second floor, clothes and display items. Practical weapons and armor. Forging on the 3rd floor. Roof. Eatery cafe. So this place really does have everything, wondered Naruto out loud. Just as he was about to walk away, he was pulled to the side by Kira. For the next half hour or so, he was dragged around from display to display, hearing Kira comment on one thing or another, and for the first time, he was actually uninterested in what Kira was saying until she stopped at a particular case and just squealed, Naruto. Kun, come look at this. When Naruto looked into the case, even he was thrown for a loop. It was a ring of a golden fox with its tail curled around to its mouth to make up the ring. It has silver-tipped ears, and the tail was also bright silver at the tip, but the thing that really set it apart was the 2 ruby eyes. Damn, it's as if they had you in mind, Kira. Chan. I see the lady is interested in this piece. Would you like to see it? Asked the clerk. Kira just looked at Naruto with eyes so big that he could have sworn he was under a genjutsu. He was even tempted to activate his newly named Shinkarugen Mirage Eye, just to be sure. The clerk removed the ring from the case and let Kira try it on as he said, we can have it fitted to any finger in just a few moments if you're interested. It seems it needs to go down a size. It's beautiful, but how much is it? Asked Kira with stars in her eyes as Naruto was already pulling out some money to buy the ring for his Kira. Chan, but to his surprise, when she was told the price she simply said, it's way too expensive, and moved on down the case after setting the ring down. Not only was the salesman stumped, but so was he. The ring wasn't that much, so why did she say no? I spent more on her clothes than what the ring costs. After a few moments of thinking it over, he decided it was just Kira's sensible side turning its head. Not only was Naruto thankful that he was able to keep his thoughts to himself after a lot of practice, because he had decided to buy the ring anyway. He tapped the glass case a few times to get the man's attention and slid a roll of bills to him. After smiling, the man said in a quiet voice, being sure to turn away from Kira's direction, very well. I will have it sized, and it will be waiting at the front door when you leave. Naruto only nodded and walked over to Kira thinking, finally, I get to surprise her with something. Just as he reached her side, she spun around and said, I'm going upstairs, Naruto. Kun. When Hinata Chan is done, meet me up top, okay? Naruto only could smile and nod his head as she ran off. He just couldn't help but be happy. I wonder if I should buy something for Hinata too? But why would I buy Hinata something? Kira. Chan is my girlfriend would be the right name, I guess, but what is Hinata exactly? I know I don't see her as a sister, but I can't think of her the same way as Kira. Chan, can I? Before Naruto could finish his thought, he heard a commotion from the other side of the store, and when he reached the crowd of people, he saw a man on the other side of the counter holding Hinata's wrist as she was trying to pull away. Just as the guard rushed over and grabbed Hinata's other arm, Naruto appeared in between them with one set of his claws around the guard's throat, and the other around the clerk's wrist in a vice grip. He then asked in a deadly calm voice, "Now, what is the reason for you to try picking a fight with a shinobi?" The entire crowd seemed to move a few steps back, because as soon as Naruto made that light threat, everyone noticed the Hittite 8 hung around Naruto's and Hinata's necks. The clerk began to sweat horribly behind the counter as he released Hinata, as did the guard, and within a second, Hinata was behind Naruto, slightly shaking. "Sir, I mean ninja. San. I meant no disrespect, but this young woman tried to steal this necklace just now," said the man behind the counter as he pointed to a rather exquisite silver chain that had what looked like thin strands of gold woven through it. All in all, it was rather beautiful, even to Naruto. Naruto for his part only looked on board, but to the people gathered, his slit blue eyes almost seemed to be eating away at them as he asked. "Really now? And what makes you think a kunoichi of Konoha would steal in the first place? Or would even be caught doing it?" "Sir, I witnessed the miss pick up the necklace off the counter, which is strictly against store policy. No one is allowed to touch the merchandise without a clerk present. She also moved it out of sight toward the bag on her hip when I caught her," said the clerk behind the counter in a slightly more confident tone. Hinata was whimpering slightly as Naruto snorted in disgust, to the confusion of the group of people. "First off, we just arrived today, so we had no way of knowing your store policy. If it's such an important rule, you should have a sign. Secondly, from how you just described the situation, you had plenty of time to inform Hinata of your rule, and lastly, in a blur of movement and a slight shimmer, not only did the entire contents of the display case in front of the man disappear, but so did every other. If any ninja wanted to rob you, it would be too simple. If Hinata had wanted to steal that necklace, you would never have seen her do it." The entire crowd was literally shocked speechless, the clerk was crying, and the guard was flat on his ass. With a snap of his fingers and another shimmer, it was as if nothing had been touched. "Now that I have my point across, I just want to say that before you accuse someone of stealing, let alone try to grab them, you should be sure you fully comprehend the situation." As the clerk nods his approval, Naruto leads Hinata to a corner of the store as everyone else was gossiping. Naruto couldn't help but ask, "Hinata, what is going on? I know you have more sense than to try to steal anything like that, not that you would try anyway." It took Hinata a moment to calm down. "I'm sore. Right, Naruto Kun, but when I saw the necklace, I was reminded of my mother. I was reaching for a picture when he grabbed me," said Hinata as she got control of herself. "A picture?" was the only thing to leave Naruto's lips. Hinata, seeing the curious face Naruto was making, just reached into her pouch and removed a small lavender-colored book that she held up for Naruto to see. As her back was against the wall, she looked into Naruto's eyes and said, "This was my mother's diary from when she was young. When I was 10, father gave it to me, along with her necklace." Hinata then opened the small book, removed a photo, and slowly handed it to Naruto. He could instantly tell that from how odd Hinata was moving that this was something special. He had to admit, after so many weeks of training, studying, and even taking the occasional nap with her, he knew Hinata's moods from just the way she moved. When she was bouncy, she was happy. When she jerked, she was troubled. And when she moved slow and precise, it was either a serious spar or something important to her, like when she pressed her flowers or was studying medial ninjutsu with him. Something is up, but what? I have watched Hinata a lot during our time training, and this is a new mood for her. As Naruto stared at the photo, he realized it was of Hinata's mother and father on their wedding day. It was a close-up shot that only showed their midsection up, but Naruto was still rather impressed. Hiyashi, the ever-ridged man that he knew, never smiled or showed any emotion no matter what his voice sounded like, but here was a picture of said man standing next to a woman with light violet hair and deep purple eyes, smiling like he had won a jackpot. But what really caught Naruto's attention was the necklace around the woman's neck. He could have sworn it was the necklace Hinata had just been caught with. That's why she did it. I could swear from this photo that it was the same one. I can't blame her for losing herself in the past. It only took Hinata a moment to see Naruto had figured it out, so without him saying anything, she said, "In the Hyuga clan, it is tradition for a marriage to be performed with specially crafted necklaces instead of rings." She then looked down at her hand. It was declared generations ago that to cover our hands with anything was a crime against the clan. She then clenched them tightly. When the elders look at a member of our clan, they only see the instruments of our art. All they care about is the strength of the clan. When I was 10 and the year of the academy ended, I placed 4th in the class, which was a disappointment to the elders. So for motivation, they took away my mother's necklace and told me that if I did better next year, I would be given it back. Naruto by this point was about to lose it. His eyes were blazing red, with a circle of blue flame in them, as he thought, how could those teams do that? I knew Hinata was mistreated, but this is just maybe, no family is better than having a family like that. After a moment of silence, Hinata never looked at Naruto as she continued, "The next year, I had only climbed to the 3rd spot, it wasn't good enough." Naruto could feel his stomach drop. A few days after the council found out, a few of them came to my room and threw some money on the floor in front of me. They said they had sold my mother's necklace to a traveling merchant, and that I should use the money to buy some training equipment. As Hinata started to lightly sob, Naruto only wrapped his arms around her to do his best at comforting her. He probably would never know how much his actions that day would affect her. "The more I hear about that damn council, the more I'm disgusted by them. Hinata, do you want to find out if that necklace is yours?" It took Hinata a few minutes to calm down once again. She then said, "I already know it's not. My mother's necklace had a small inscription on the clasp that said, Eternal Blossom. This one didn't have one, I just thought that maybe." Naruto only held her again for a few moments before he said, "It's okay, Hinata. Chan, there's nothing wrong. Kira. Chan is upstairs looking around. Why don't you join her? I will be up in a few minutes. I just want to make sure there are no problems down here. Okay? Hinata. Chan? Maybe I am getting closer to Naruto." "Kun," thought Hinata as she quickly nodded with a small smile. Naruto gently let go and watched as she walked up the stairs. Just after she was out of sight, Naruto walked back up to the display case with the same clerk. After waiting a few moments, he asked, "Excuse me, sir?" The poor clerk nearly jumped over the counter when he turned to see Naruto again. "Yes, ninja. San. How may I be of help? How much for the necklace, and could you have the clasp engraved with something within the next hour?" Asked Naruto as he pulled out a rather large roll of bills and activated his Shinkarugen, just to add menace to incentive. The clerk was instantly interested. He was either going to make one hell of a commission, or was about to experience something very unpleasant. "Maybe since I'm buying presents, I should think about something for Sakura and Sasuke? They have been training really hard lately, even if I have to heal them every hour or so. I swear Sasuke won't be happy until he dies from burns or chakra exhaustion." A few hours later, as Naruto, Kira, and Hinata were leaving the village of Suda. Righto, they couldn't help but be in a happy mood. The three had lost track of time, and it was late afternoon as they left. They were moving a little faster than they usually would inside a village because they needed to recover the time they had lost. All three of them had bought one thing or another while in the Kinjin. Ray. Kira had bought a set of metal plates to go over her leg guards, as well as a set of forearm guards to add extra protection, just to be on the safe side. After she had started supporting her blade with her forearms, she noticed it really hurt. Naruto for his part had gone a little overboard with his shopping. He had literally bought an arms warehouse of weapons. Kira had actually asked if he was trying to compete with Tenten or not. He had bought swords, spears, crossbows, sickles, maces, kunai, tonfa, sai, daggers, and even kursari. Gamma, chained and unchained versions. Naruto had just said, something to pass the time with a shrug of his shoulders. He also bought a book on basic forging and weapons repair, for something to read other than porn and medical scrolls. Hinata had bought, much to Naruto's surprise, a metal battle fan as a weapon of choice. Apparently, Kira had talked her into it, saying it was versatile for offense and defense. It supposedly would go well with her flexibility and grace. The fan was a little over 15 inches in length when closed, with a black finish on the outside with white flowers. When open, it could apparently either be used as a slicing weapon, or it could open into a full circle to be thrown, and of course it would be a useful shield. The inside of the fan was a dark blue, with white flowers and a full moon over a lakeshore. Naruto couldn't help but think it was ironic, considering what he had inscribed on her necklace. Once outside the city, the three took to walking at a slower pace, considering they would have to stop for the night in a few hours since it was already so late. But at least they were out of the city and making good time. They had originally planned to travel through the night, but for some reason, Kira had a strange feeling, and that was enough for Naruto and Hinata to act with caution. "So boss, those are the kids we heard threw all that money around at the Kinjin. Ray today?" asked a grungy man with a hammer on his side, standing with three others just inside the village gates as they watched Naruto and the others steadily move down the road. "It's got to be them. Not very many girls with orange hair around," said another one with a dark beard and what looked like a poorly kept straight sword. "Not to mention the one with the white eyes. She seems fun. Do you think we can have some fun with the girls after we're done robbing them blind, boss?" asked another man that was missing quite a few teeth. Why not? We can rob them blind, and then use the girls until we get bored," said the man known as Boss. He was a large man of about 6'4" with obvious muscles. His skin was tanned, and if you looked closely, it's obvious the man had worked at a forge for quite a few years by all the burn scars. "We will wait until they settle down for the night, then we kill the boy and have our fun." Just inside Rice Country. As the three stop for the night, Naruto starts to unseal the tent the three had been using. Normally, a tent is too large and cumbersome for a ninja to carry, but thanks to Naruto's scroll, he could travel in style and comfort. "Hinata-chan, do you think you could go gather some firewood? We seem to have used up all of the wood I brought," asked Naruto as he finished setting up camp. "Of course, Naruto-kun, I'll be right back," said Hinata as she stood up. "Oh Hinata-chan, while you're out, could you please fill the canteens?" asked Kira with a small smile, but as soon as Hinata was close enough to her, Kira pulled her in close and whispered, "It seems whatever you're doing is working. Naruto-kun seems to be seeing you as more than a friend. I'll have a talk with him in a little bit, so try to stay out for a little while. Okay?" Hinata couldn't help but have a large smile as she said out loud for Naruto to hear, "Sure, Kira. Ni-chan, I should be back soon, but I think the only river is a little far away, so I could be a little bit." Naruto, for his part, only raised an eyebrow at the actions of the girls. He had tried to listen in on what Kira was saying, but for some reason, it sounded jumbled and slightly scratchy. If it weren't for the fact that he had tried to eavesdrop on her, he would have asked if something was wrong with him. "This is Kira-chan. After all, she probably has some way of blocking my senses when she needs or wants to," thought Naruto as he finished setting up the tent and fire pit. He pulled out some rice and a small cooker and filled it with some water from the cooking supplies. He added some light seasoning before setting up a small grill over the fire pit and cut a few branches from a nearby tree to start cooking with until Hinata got back. After a quick burst of foxfire, he was well on his way with dinner. Naruto-kun has really come a long way from when we first met. He is still the hyperactive kid he used to be, but now he's more focused, calculating, and seems to always be looking to learn something new. I wonder what he will be like in a few years. Anyway, it's time to play matchmaker for Hinata-chan," thought Kira as she walked up behind Naruto, after he had sat down on a nearby rock to watch the fire as the grill heated. "Naruto-kun, I wanted to ask you about something," stated Kira as she sat next to Naruto. "Sure, you know you can talk to me about anything, Kira-chan," said Naruto with a smile. "Naruto-kun, what do you think about Hinata-chan?" "Hinata-chan? Well, what do you mean exactly? Her training or the whole thing with Kumo?" asked Naruto, honestly confused. "I mean, what do you think of her as a girl?" Naruto was actually starting to get what Kira was talking about. "Kira-chan thinks that I like Hinata-chan." Naruto gently took Kira's hand in his. At first, she just took it as a show of affection. At least, until she felt something slipped onto her finger. Kira snapped her head up the instant Naruto released her hand. As she looked down, she saw the very ring she had seen in the gallery resting on her finger. Her mind whirled with thoughts until she looked into Naruto's eyes. All she could do was look into his eyes as he said, "I love you, Kira-chan. Hinata is beautiful. I won't lie and say that she isn't attractive, but I have you and that's all I need or want. Kira just couldn't help but let a few tears slip as she wrapped her arms around Naruto. I should have known Naruto Kun would be like this. I can't believe he bought this ring for me, Naruto Kun, what does this mean? Asked Kira. Naruto only slightly pulled away so he could look into her eyes and say, you can see it as you like, Kira. Chan. But to me it's a promise that I will always feel the same and be right here for you, finished Naruto with a soft smile. What if I said I didn't mind if you pursue Hinata? Chan too? Naruto had gotten a lot smarter over the past few months, but this was still way over his head. Others' feelings, and especially girls, were a new thing for him, so the only intelligent response was to look at Kira with saucer like eyes and say the ever-eloquent, huh? Kira only slightly giggled as she said, Naruto Kun, do you know why Hinata Chan has been working so hard? Naruto only looked on with a calculating look. If she wasn't able to get your attention like she has, I wouldn't even tell you this. Naruto was about to say something, but was cut off by Kira again. She loves you, she has loved you since before you ever met me. As far as I can tell, she has loved you since your first years in the academy. Naruto only blinked owlishly as he remembered all the times he had seen Hinata over the years, and it all just seemed to click for him. All the times she was following him, blushing at the mere sight of him, and complimenting him on just about everything. It all just added up. She does love me? But I have you, Kira. Chan. I can't just have both of you. Isn't there a rule or something? Kira turns slightly and looks Naruto straight in the eyes and says, yes, yes you do have me, Naruto Kun, and you always will. Our souls are intertwined. We feel each other, hear each other's thoughts, and know each other better than anyone could hope to know us, but that doesn't mean that you only can have me. Naruto moved to say something, but was stopped by Kira placing a finger across his lips. You need to understand that I am trapped inside of the seal now. I'm not real, Naruto Kun, and I can't be there for you like Hinata Chan can. At least not in the same sense as Hinata Chan. I have no body of my own, and the only reason I can even touch you now is because of this fake cage Bunshin body. I get hit right or run out of Yuki and I poof just like any other clone. After a moment of looking down, Kira brings her head back up. I'm not real, Naruto Kun, and I never will be. Hinata Chan loves you, and we both agreed to share you a long time ago as long as she became someone I could trust to be there for you when I couldn't. She has worked hard to be that person for you. Naruto was trying to find something to disagree with Kira on. Anything to counter her with, but everything she said was true, no matter how much he wanted to disagree. Are you saying that you don't want to be with me because I can't give you a real body? Asked Naruto with a slight tear in his eye. Kira only cupped his cheek lightly and said, I already told you that I will always be here. I will always love you, but that doesn't mean that you need to only love me. As long as the girl loves you and you love her, I wouldn't care if there were 15 of them. If you were happy and all the girls agreed to share you, I would be happy. But if I ever found you sneaking around on any of the girls, you would wish we were separate. It took Naruto some time to process all this. He was allowed to have multiple girls love him? He could love multiple girls, it just didn't seem to add up for him. He finally decided that if Kira was the one telling him, then it must be true. He had put his life and trust in her since they had met, so why would this be any different? I think I need to talk to Hinata Chan before I say anything else, Kira Chan. Naruto then stands and begins to head out of camp in the same direction as Hinata. Then, without turning around, he said, don't think this, not having a real body, thing will work forever. I will find a way to release this seal eventually. As Kira watched Naruto's retreating back, she couldn't help but think he got out of his turn at cooking again. It didn't take Naruto long to find Hinata. Her scent of vanilla seemed just to permeate the area. He stored away the thought to find out what made her smell of vanilla. He slowly snuck up behind her and sat down next to her on a rock as she was filling the canteens. We really need to work on your detection skills, Hinata Chan. Oh! Cried Hinata as she dropped the canteen into the water. Naruto Kun, you scared me. Naruto slightly snickered as he looked straight into her eyes. For the first time, he really looked into those eyes, looking for any trick or misconception. But for all his study, all he could see was caring, worry, kindness and the same look of love he saw in Kira's eyes. I really was blind not to see her feelings before. When I look into her eyes, it's obvious, but do I love her? As Naruto sat there staring into Hinata's eyes, she was actually rather comforted by it. Naruto always seemed to be looking past her before. He was always seeing what she could be, how strong she could be, or how he could help her next. But now she could tell he was looking at her, the person that was there in front of him, and she truly felt comforted by this. Naruto. Kun, is there something wrong? Kira. Chan had a talk with me, Hinata. Chan, she said that you were in love with me. She said that you had been for a long time, and now that I really think about it, you are, aren't you? At first, Hinata could only think about an escape, that this wasn't how she wanted to confess to Naruto, but then she came to a conclusion. No, I have worked too hard for this. Kira. Ni-chan kept her word and is trying to help me. It's up to me to make Naruto Kun mine. I do, Naruto Kun. I have since our first year in the academy. At first, I only looked up to you because you were everything I wanted to be. You are strong, confident, you never quit, and no matter what anyone thinks or says, you keep moving. I don't know when I went from wanting to be like you to wanting to love you and be loved by you, but I know it's been years. To Hinata's disappointment, Naruto's face remained as blank as it was when he arrived. Hinata was hurt, thinking he wasn't interested in her at all and tried to run, but before she could get 2 steps, Naruto appeared behind her as he wrapped his arms around her tightly. In the smoothest, most honest voice he could make, he said, Hinata. Chan, I don't know if I love you. I know that you were important to me. Someone I would protect with my life, but I don't know what my feelings for you are. I know it isn't sisterly or just in a friendly way. Naruto then put the necklace he bought for her around her neck and says, I want you to consider this as a promise that as soon as I know, you will know, and I know it's horrible of me to ask, but would you wait for me until I do know? I hope that maybe one day, this necklace will mean for us what it means in your clan, but as of now, I'm not quite sure. Hinata was ecstatic on the inside as she thought, yes. I have a chance. I'm important to Naruto Kun. He even bought me something before Kira. Ni-chan told him. He doesn't love me now, but that will change. I'll make it change. Before Hinata turned to face Naruto, she held the necklace and slowly felt around until she felt the clasp. To her surprise, it was engraved with something. As she looked at the inscription, she read, Pale Moonflower. Hinata could only turn with glistening tears flowing in the moonlight as she embraced Naruto tightly. She softly muttered into his flak jacket, I will always wait for you, Naruto Kun, and I know you will feel the same someday, but until then, Kira. Ni-chan and I will always be there. Naruto only sat there quietly as he held Hinata and softly rocked back and forth, just enjoying that he had someone else that loved him, and even if he couldn't love her back, he swore to always protect the people precious to him. Kira smiled softly as she watched Naruto and Hinata. Naruto Kun, you really have a way with the hearts of people. I wonder if you will ever know how many people you have changed for the better by just being alive, or how many you will change, and when the hell did you become tricky enough to sneak something past me? Finished Kira as she looked at the ring on her left hand with starry eyes. The next day got off to a perfect start. As the sun rose, the 3 of them set out to explore Fire Country. Naruto was thoroughly enjoying this mission because, even though he only required 4 or 5 hours of sleep per night, he was unable to resist doing so once he discovered how to get the full 8 hours. It was a wonderful way to start the day to go to bed with a girl on each side and wake up to find them lying on top of you. Naruto calculated that if they continued at their current pace, they would reach the fishing village in the late afternoon, when they would meet Kakashi. With all the rice paddies, it seemed silly to be running on the ground through rice country, so they were just taking their time and soaking in the view. They were aware that it would not take them long to reach the tree line. They could cut their time in half, if not less, by moving through the trees. There was an air of contentment, safety, and peace about all 3 of them. That was, anyway, until 4 rather shady men appeared in front of them. Even though it was clear that they were just thugs, Naruto almost turned green from the stench emanating from them. Though Kira was growling so loudly that even the men could hear it, he was unable to identify the smell. Kira knew immediately what these men had been up to. The man holding the hammer remarked, We have been following you little runts for days now, waiting for you lot to go to sleep, but you little bastards never seem to sleep at the same time. Kira's snarl got even louder when she realized these men had been pursuing them. Apparently, the red and orange one has a bit of a temper. Boss, perhaps we ought to get our way with her first? Naruto's disgust at the man's stench instantly transformed into something else after those words were spoken. He assumed his standard ready position for unidentified opponents, crouching with his left hand held up in front in case he chose to use taijutsu. Hinata adopted a somewhat novel position. Though her right hand was now resting on her fan behind her back rather than being pulled back, it was still the standard Juken starter stance. Kira assumed her stance, putting her left hand up in front of her and extending her claws while her right hand rested on her wakizashi. With the intention of frightening them away, Naruto started to draw his sword. "I don't know what you four think you are doing, but I would suggest you leave now," he said. With a chuckle, the man called Boss remarked, "What do you think you are, shinobi or something? It will not help you to try to bluff my men with fake strength and stances. I'll tell you what, we won't kill you if you give up everything you own and your girlfriends here promise to work without interference for me and my men." It would be an understatement to suggest that Kira and Hinata were disgusted. However, Naruto was incensed that anyone would even consider doing such a thing. "Unless you were as retarded as you were ugly, you would realize that we are ninja of Konoha, and I'll personally ensure that if you make a move, you won't have time to regret it. They're wearing leaf symbols, boss." One of the three lackeys said, "Maybe we should leave this one," as they started to retreat. "Don't fall for their tricks," the boss orders. "With ninja this young, no village lets them go without a junin. Sensei. These kids most likely had the headbands made somewhere or just happened to find them. Our brats are not inferior to these. Seize them with all of their might." Naruto stopped the men in their tracks by revealing his crimson-slit eyes and fangs while sheathing his sword and releasing his illusion over his appearance. "Tell me this," he said. "The four of you smell. Now I know what it is. You all have a blood and sex odor. While you were following us, you were robbing and raping people on this road, didn't you? Well, I guess you have something against that?" When his men had recovered from their shock at seeing Naruto, the leader asked, "We act however we please. Killing, rape, or robbing, we don't care. We are free to do with the people on this road as we please if they are present." Hinata and Naruto were furious beyond belief. Kira snarled and uttered, "Hinata. Chan, Naruto. Kun. Normally, I oppose killing, but when I come across individuals like this, I no longer think of them as people." At that, Kira pulled out her blade. With a flick of her wrist, Hinata pulled her fan out from behind her and declared herself determined. Naruto just fixed his gaze on the person wielding the sword and the leader in front of him. The men were momentarily frozen in place by the rage and killing intent in Naruto's crimson eyes. He then spoke, "People like you that have made the choice to treat others like playthings. Your life means nothing to me." With a voice so demonic, Naruto finished, causing the men's fear and natural desire to flee on their own to overcome their desire to kill. The four men charged forward as soon as Naruto concluded his speech, only to be met by the three. To Hinata's dismay, she was forced to deal with the dagger wielding man with bad teeth. All she had to do was disarm the man of his weapon with a sweep of her fan, and then launch him into the woods, where he crashed violently into a tree. Hinata took a moment to assess the situation of the others before pursuing the man to ensure he was completely out of breath. Kira objected to the person holding the hammer. As for this man, he was pretty good with that mallet of his. In fact, Kira had to duck to find a gap in the man's defenses. "Well, let's investigate. He swings in a very specific way. He always keeps his left arm free with that armlet, so he doesn't leave any openings when he goes down, up, cross, left, down, cross, up, or right. Oh well, I hate to use jutsu on someone of his caliber, but I am unable to avoid him with this small body." The man's arm is then forced upward into the air by Kira, who pulls out her wakizashi and strikes the hammer's face. To his horror, the man hears, "Doden," seizing earth no jutsu, before he can raise his guard again. Four enormous hands made of rock and earth appeared out of the ground to trap him. He let out one last cry before being dragged beneath the surface, whereupon it sealed shut as though nothing had occurred. Well, that was quick. At last, Naruto had to confront the boss. The big man attempted to smash Naruto's head in with downward blows but had no weapon. For his part, Naruto simply sidestepped a few times before saying, "Tell me something," because he had had enough. "What gives you the impression that the lives of others are just toys?" inquired Naruto, leaping a considerable distance away. The tall man stopped swinging and panted out, sweat pouring from him. This world's fate is determined by the strong. You are correct and free to act however you please if you are stronger than other people. It really is that easy. Upon concluding his speech, the man began to run in Naruto's direction. How tragic that you would squander your life in this manner. Ninpo. Dokugiri, poison mist. A cloud of dark purple smoke shot out of Naruto's mouth, and he cried out. Even though the poison quickly consumed the man, Naruto wasn't done. Even someone as disgusting as you deserves a quick death, he said. Then, with a snap of his fingers, Naruto raises his clawed hand and ignites the gas with a spark of foxfire. The poison mist ignited and died in an instant with a single flash of light and fire, leaving behind nothing more than a smoldering mound of black as evidence of the man's presence. Initially, Naruto was confined to his place. It was his first kill, and it was so easy, this man. It took less than 5 minutes to take a life. The sick feeling in his stomach, the smell of burnt flesh, the incomprehensibility of even looking at his own hands. When Naruto was finally able to turn and look away, he suddenly felt his hands start to burn even more intensely. When he looks down, he notices that the red glow from before has become green and yellow in addition to red. Though Naruto made an effort to restrain himself, the burning was too great. He tried to bite down to stop the pain, but he screamed. When Kira and Hinata turn to face the screaming, they see Naruto kneeling on the ground with his arms' veins appearing as dark as the night and his hands glowing a greenish-yellow color. To the dismay of the girls, however, Naruto had the final bandit directly behind him, his straight sword raised to strike. Kira was running as fast as she could to get to Naruto's side in time, but before she could block the man with her body, a spinning blue disc shot blood into the air through the man's neck. It was evident that Hinata's fan had struck the tree when the disc struck it and the man collapsed, his head barely hanging on. Hinata dropped to her knees, and Naruto saw the horror on her face before he passed out. Within the mindscape of Naruto. Slowly, on the couch inside his mindscape, Naruto started to stir. Before he opened his eyes, Kira gave him a serious look for a few moments. After that, she sat down next to him and carefully ran her fingers through his hair, causing him to inquire, Kira-chan, how long have I been outside, and why are we outside the seal again? Kira paused for a moment before responding, you have been unconscious for about 6 hours, Naruto-kun. Outside, it's just past noon. As for the reason I'm back inside the seal, I had to return so I could try and repair what was happening to you. Kira-chan, why do my hands hurt? The last time Kira-chan went around my questions like this was when she told me I was a demon, said Naruto, who was fully aware of the time. Despite this, he could sense something was wrong with him right away. Kira breathed deeply as she said, the closest word to describe it would be, mutating. I'd like to say evolving, though. You see, when I increased your natural healing factor, I didn't take something into account, and it's why you're in pain now. Naruto said, mutating, attempting to comprehend the concept. What precisely do you mean by mutating, and what didn't you consider, Kira-chan? With a shaky breath, Kira replied, I didn't consider that you and your family have always been human. Demons have evolved over thousands of years, with the help of our healing factor to adapt to things slowly as they came. You see, when we were created, demons were already much stronger than humans. Over the millennia, one demon or another would encounter something new and adapt it, and that adaptation would be passed down the line to future generations. That is how we are almost immune to everything other than our opposing elements. The memory of our ancestors exists in our blood. You, on the other hand, Naruto-kun, have the healing of a demon, but none of the ancestry. So your body is adapting to things at such an accelerated rate that you are literally mutating before my eyes, instead of slowly as you should. Your body is trying to adapt to thousands of years of stimulants all at once and is taking shortcuts to do it, dangerous ones. To Kira's dismay, Naruto slowly awoke and said, okay, so basically my healing is too good for me and is trying to do too much at once. That doesn't sound so bad, but what do you mean by shortcuts? While pressing his face into his palms facing upward, Naruto only nodded, reflecting on his research on viruses and antibodies. When I explained it to everyone else, I'm sure you were thinking that your blood was making antibodies against poison like it would do for a disease, right? He asked. It didn't. Your body, instead of making antibodies to combat poison and disease, decided to make your body unable to support foreign bodies. Naruto was starting to become quite interested. The idea of being impervious to illness simply unleashed his inner medic. Immune to all diseases and poisons of the blood, how would that even be possible? This is an exact replica of your body. The rules of injury apply unless you choose otherwise. Bite your thumb and press it against this table to see what I mean, Kira said, gesturing to a coffee table in front of her. Naruto chose to accept it without questioning it at the time. Kira-chan. What's supposed to? Naruto asked, easily breaking the skin and pressing his bleeding thumb against the table, but nothing happened. Before he could ask further, a faint hissing sound was heard. To his surprise, he noticed that his blood was steadily but slowly eat through the table when he turned back to it. That, Naruto-kun, is what I meant. Your blood has become a very powerful acid. It is slow working, but seems to be able to eat through just about anything. It seems now that instead of your liver filtering your blood of toxins, it is collecting and processing them into a solution to mix with your blood to cause this. That's why your blood is so much darker in color, and if you looked, it's thicker too. But this isn't possible. How can I have acid flowing through my veins? I'd be dissolved, wouldn't I? Like I said, it will eat through almost anything. It seems that organic matter such as skin, flesh, and hair are unaffected by your acid. Things like metal, stone, wood and things of that nature would be eaten in a matter of minutes or hours, depending on the substance. The only thing Naruto could do was slap his head and mutter, "What's next? Venom from my fangs." In actuality, from your claws. Kira remarked as she relaxed on the sofa. All Naruto could think to say was, what? The same residual chakra that naturally runs through your claws to strengthen them is, for some reason, breaking down minute traces of your new acidic blood and causing your claws to be coated in this mixed acidic energy, says Kira, tapping the table next to the new hole slowly. I'm toxic now? Naruto only needed to inquire of Kira. No, if you were toxic, it would mean that you would spread it by touch. You are poisonous, but to be more exact, you are venomous. You only use your poisons with your claws extended. It's a relief, but am I lethal as well? Inquired Naruto, wishing he wouldn't have to start protecting his hands. Well yes, you are deadly Naruto-kun, but your poison is very exact in effect. It is a powerful acid that works on just about everything except you for some reason. I'm still looking into why it doesn't, but you probably will figure it out quicker once you wake up and can experiment with it. Other than that, Naruto-kun, I will be remaining inside of the seal for a little while. Why would you need to do that, Kira-chan? Kira waved her arm at a desk and said, well, we can't have you mutating every time you have contact with something new. There were 2 scrolls on the desk. The other was enormous, but the first was just your typical search for a library scroll. This scroll was enormous, if the forbidden one was large. As you know, Naruto-kun, all the books and scrolls in this room are the mindscape equivalent to everything you know. This scroll is the natural and subconscious functions of your body that are normally hidden from you. This larger one is mine. The idea made Naruto drop his jaw in shock. Kira-chan, why is your scroll so much bigger than mine? Mine is bigger because it has several thousand years of healing records and injuries. Normally, I keep all my knowledge separate from yours so not to leak something to you that you shouldn't know or overwhelm you with all my memories. I brought this one out because over the next coming weeks, I will be staying inside the seal to control and hold back any more mutations. I will also be doing the mindscape equivalent of copying all of my records into yours so you won't have to adapt to anything else. So you won't be outside just because you're worried about another change? Isn't that a little much, Kira-chan? With a cunning smile, Kira questioned, what if you run into a Kumo? Nin, get hit by a Raiden Jutsu, and grow scales to deal with electric shocks? Okay, point taken. How are you going to copy your scroll to mine? Naruto asks, clearly disgusted by the vision he just witnessed. Take a seat, grab a brush, and start writing. You still have 6 hours until you can wake up, and we have a few weeks of info here to copy over, Kira said, letting her smile turn into a frown. Naruto could only accept his fate as he sat down next to Kira, thinking, I really need to create paperwork no jutsu. Naruto felt a weight on his chest as he awoke from his slumber once more. He glanced around and saw that Hinata was lying across his chest in a sleeping roll inside a tent. Though he wasn't sure if he could still hear Kira's words from the previous evening about what he ought to do. It had nothing to do with putting Hinata's secrets at risk. Reliving his own past with a new person was the issue. Being despised from the beginning was one thing, but being despised by one of his few genuine friends was quite another. The thought that the truth would drive one of his precious few friends away was unavoidable. Naruto couldn't let that go from his thoughts, even though he knew it was cruel and stupid. The previous evening, right before Naruto and Kira turned in for the evening. Naruto-kun, you really should tell Hinata-chan about everything that's going on. I don't know if that's a good idea, Kira-chan. I don't know if she would accept it. Or even believe it, Naruto said with more than a hint of hesitation. Kira only dealt a serious head blow to Naruto when she said, "It's either that, or you lied to her about what she saw when I disappeared in black smoke and a red energy beam shot into your gut. You don't like being lied to, so don't do it to others if you don't have to. Especially someone that feels about you like Hinata-chan does. You will have to tell your team and others eventually, and having Hinata-chan know will just make it easier for the others to accept. Trust me, Naruto-kun. I do trust you, Kira-chan, but..." At last, Naruto thought, Kira-chan is right, she always is. It's starting to get annoying too. I guess I need to tell Hinata-chan. I hope this turns out okay. As he observed Hinata rise and fall in time with his breathing. Hinata, who was still half asleep, rubbed the sleep from her eyes and said, "Tell me what, Naruto-kun? Now or never, I didn't mean to wake you up, Hinata-chan, but, there is something that I need to tell you about me. Things that may make you not want to be around me anymore." To Naruto's surprise, Hinata whispers, "If the monstrous ramen addiction of yours doesn't, I doubt anything else will, and I have seen you eat ramen." While giving him a small smile and a nose flick. Naruto only sets his face while taking off his shirt and armor. As Hinata notices his developing muscles, she can't help but turn away and blush crimson. Naruto-kun is sure well toned, she remarks. As Hinata turned back slowly, she saw Naruto form a common gathering seal. To her amazement, the most complex seal she had ever seen appeared on his stomach. "Don't look away, Hinata-chan. This is something you need to see." Despite her extensive studies on the caged bird seal, she was not an expert on seals. However, her clan had a good collection of scrolls on the topic. The coil in the center of the seal was starting to fade from the end on, like a fuse going out, and that was the only odd thing she could see. The first 2 inches appeared to have faded, but she could still make out the entire spiral. Naruto started speaking as soon as he saw that she recognized him, saying, "I have had this seal since the day I was born, October 10th, 12 years ago." For the first time in her life, Hinata wasn't anticipating what Naruto would say next. Whatever he was about to tell her would change everything, for better or worse, she didn't know, but she could tell by the look in his eyes that it wouldn't happen often. The following day. Before Naruto and Hinata arrived at the fishing village to meet up with Kakashi and the others, they had to endure another long day. To ensure he could at least control his claws, Naruto had spent the day practicing walking with them. He had to use the acid whenever he used his claws at first, whether he liked it or not, but he quickly discovered that stopping the acid would interfere with the natural flow of chakra energy and a minor muscle twitch. It was like having to twist his wrist, only much harder. Nevertheless, he was incredibly relieved about this discovery. Using her Byakugan, Hinata greatly aided the process by observing the movements of his muscles and claws until she noticed the trigger. Naruto was still shocked by how easily Kira, his past, and even his status as a demon were accepted by Hinata. She had dismissed it with a shrug, as though it were old news. Even though Hinata had stated that she knew something about Naruto wasn't quite right, knowing wasn't really a change because she didn't care what it was when she didn't know. He was relieved that someone knew everything about him besides Kira, Iruka, and the Sandaime. He genuinely felt that Hinata was one of his precious few acquaintances. He was shocked by how quickly Kakashi and Sasuke surrounded him and Hinata when they got to the village. Sakura had apparently assumed responsibility for cooking after he and Kira departed with Hinata. Not only did he discover that everyone enjoyed his food, but it also seems that Sakura could make almost anything poisonous. Naruto was genuinely astounded that someone could transform simple white rice and sea bass into ricen after Kakashi had saved some of the food for him to study. She hadn't been close to the necessary components for the poison, but here it was, obvious as day. Fortunately, Kakashi had noticed it pretty soon after it was initially carried out. How the girl had managed it baffled Naruto. In the end, He merely issued a medical directive telling Sakura not to cook until he and Hinata could teach her a few recipes that she would be ordered to follow precisely. In reality, he was trying to get Sakura to repeat the action. Sadly, there was not even a restaurant in this little village. The closest thing it had was a little bar, so when Hinata helped Naruto cook that evening before they left early the next morning, the group was overjoyed. Sasuke, Sakura, and Tazuna gathered around a table to enjoy Naruto's dinner of grilled vegetables, egg, fried rice, and barbecue boar. By the way, Naruto, where is your friend Kira? I hope nothing happened to her, Kakashi inquired. Unfortunately, she had business in Aim no Kuni. She said she would find us in a few weeks when she was done, Naruto said, drawing all eyes to himself. Nice cover, Naruto. Kun. Aim is a week's travel from where we were, even for shinobi. Just be careful about what you say. I'm sure we can trust these people as teammates, but other than Hinata, I doubt that they are ready to know about me or what you are becoming. Sadly, Naruto. Kun will have to tell them eventually, and I'm afraid that it will be sooner than we would like. Thanks, and I will be careful. I really don't need them trying to get a mob after me. Kakashi was thinking, it must be something to do with that passport of hers. I really need to ask Hokage Sama about her. I'll send him a message after we get settled into Tazuna's home. Good. With her around, I wasn't getting any attention from the boys, Sasuke. Kun. I wasn't getting attention from Sasuke. Kun. Sakura merely snorted lightly. Sasuke, noticing some rough spots on Naruto's clothing, inquired, so how was your trip into Raiko? Run into anything we should know about? After giving each other a brief glance, Hinata said, go ahead, Naruto. Kun. She then tried to avoid making eye contact by turning her head away and lightly touching her fan. They spent the remainder of the meal recounting their adventures, their discoveries, and how Hoedo had wished to make a shopping stop in Suda. Raito. Although Kakashi was relieved to discover that none of the bandits had killed anyone, he was still apprehensive when he discovered that Hinata had actually killed one with her new fan. He felt reasonably confident that Naruto and Kira could handle the reality that they had claimed to life. In order to make sure Naruto wasn't exhibiting any symptoms of mental health issues, he also made sure to watch him for a short while. As it turned out, Kakashi was unable to detect anything. Kakashi chose to consider that later and wasn't sure if it was a relief or something to be concerned about, but he was concerned about Hinata's reaction. Her body language, her lack of eye contact, and the way she kept lightly touching her fan. Kakashi had made the decision that he needed to handle this. She was so timid just a month ago. From the reports I've read and from what I have heard from Kurenai, I think I need to be sure she can deal with this. It could be disastrous if left unchecked. Hinata, would you mind taking a walk with me for a moment? I need to scout the area, and a little company wouldn't hurt. With a slightly glassy expression, Hinata looked up before slowly getting up and waving to Naruto and the others as Kakashi led the way. Sasuke couldn't resist saying, I guess she is better than I thought if she was able to do that and not faint. I need to get a weapon of my own soon. That makes Naruto, Kira, and Hinata all weapon users. This could put me at a disadvantage, but what weapon to use? Along Wave Country's coast. The next morning, the group had left early while the mist was still heavy over the water. After spending several hours on a larger boat, they arrived at an island near Nami no Kuni's coast. There, they met a smaller boat that belonged to Tazuna's friend, who would transport them the remaining distance. The boatman broke the quiet for a few minutes before saying, we'll be there soon. It looks like we've avoided detection so far, but we need to be careful. If we are caught in the water, we're done. Thanks, Tazuna said, continuing to scan his surroundings warily. They continued to move through the dense mist for a short while before seeing a bridge. It would be a grave understatement to say it was large. Even the unyielding Sasuke was forced to gaze in mild amazement at the enormous building. As the group passed beneath it, Naruto remarked, I have to admit, Tazuna-san. That is one hell of a bridge you're building. Kakashi was forced to concur. It would appear that Tazuna wasn't bragging about his skills as a bridge maker. Maybe he really had a good enough reason to lie about the mission? Tazuna. So far we've been overlooked, but just to be on the safe side, we'll take the inland route and make landfall under the mangrove covering, the ferryman said, glancing nervously over his shoulder. As they touched down, Tazuna nodded appreciatively for the assistance, saying, thanks again. You took such a risk. I shouldn't have asked for it. Keep your heads down and try to look normal. Gatu has had more thugs in town over the last week, the ferryman called back, nodding before pulling his boat away and vanishing into the mist. Down the road towards Tizuna's house. As the group moved on, Naruto began to shiver, as if something cold was slithering down his spine. Kira-chan, do you get the feeling someone's watching us? I've felt this before, but it's different this time. Asked Naruto through their mental link. Yes, it's faint even for our sense of smell, but there is defiantly a human scent nearby. I would say somewhere in the bushes up ahead. A familiar smell, but only in passing. Naruto scowled as he tossed a shuriken into the shrubbery, causing the others to drop into stance out of reflex. Naruto, what the heck are you doing? Sakura screeched, startled out of her wits. Are you trying to act cool by scaring us? Ignoring her, Naruto walked into the bush and came back holding a snow hare and his shuriken. He took one good whiff of the poor rabbit as Sakura again yelled, "Look what you did." The kunoichi shrieked, again taking a superior tone, attacking an innocent creature like that. Sakura, I am the last person to tell anyone to be quiet, but we are in enemy territory trying to sneak in, so please whisper. Naruto said in a bored and annoyed tone. As Sakura sputtered at Naruto for pointing out her mistake, he pocketed his shuriken and then held up the rabbit to her face by its ears. First off, this hare has its winter coat of white, but it's the middle of summer. I've had to hunt for myself on several occasions, so I know that it should be brown by now since the season to hunt rabbit is winter. I know all this because this same type of hare can be found in Konoha. Next, he pulled out a piece of black and white cloth and shoved it under her nose as well. Secondly, this is a piece of fabric from someone's clothes, which I'm sure isn't the hare's. This animal also has the same scent as the cloth does and it's human. He put the cloth away and petted the hare to calm it down. My guess is that this is someone's pet that they used it to switch places with by using Kawarimi no Jutsu, Sasuke stated with a frown before glaring at Sakura in annoyance. Why couldn't Kira stay and Sakura go? And another thing, how the hell are we supposed to sneak into an enemy occupied country if you deafen every living thing within earshot with your screeching? Questioned Naruto. Hinata, who had taken to staying close as soon as she heard about the replacement, took another step closer to the blonde half. Demon. Sakura's mouth opened and closed but no words came out. She was too shocked, embarrassed, and angry to say anything. She had been caught for something she was always complaining about Naruto doing in the academy days. He really isn't the same boy that was in the academy. At first I only thought he was improving because of Sasuke-kun, but now. Everyone down! Yelled Kakashi to get them to take cover. Naruto kicked Sakura's legs out from under her, causing her to fall over just as a massive sword passed over their heads, whirling through the air before slamming into a tree. Hinata and Sasuke took care of themselves, and Kakashi pulled Tizuna down just in time. When the group looked up, there was a man standing on the sword's handle, looking over his shoulder at them. His headband displayed 4 curved lines with a slash through the middle that clearly stood as the sign of a hidden mist missing. Nin. This one is much stronger than anyone we have fought before, Naruto. Kun. I'd say Junin. Level at least. Be very careful. This one is an opponent for the Cyclops. Naruto nodded and went on guard, ready to fight or flee with the others if needed. He must be strong if he actually can fight with that overgrown cleaver. It must weigh more than he does. I wish I could have a chance to. Well, if it isn't Momochi Zabuza, the kid that ran off and left Kirigakure no Sato in the Land of Water, Kakashi muttered as he was looking up at the nin cautiously. Naruto was about to say something when Kakashi waved a hand in front of his face. Don't interfere, and give me room. Naruto looked up, frowning slightly as Kakashi said, this one's on a higher level than our other opponents. Kakashi then reached for his headband while the missing nin nodded slightly saying, Sharingan Kakashi, I presume? Zabuza asked almost bored, if it wouldn't be too much trouble, could you surrender the old man? When the shinobi said the word Sharingan, 2 things happened. Firstly, Sasuke was slightly startled, knowing that the Sharingan was a bloodline limit exclusive to his clan alone. Secondly, Naruto, having been told about the Sharingan by both Kira and Sasuke, decided it would be good to drop his hypnosis to hide his appearance and fully activate his Shinkarugan, just to be safe. From what he understood, those eyes were dangerous and if he ended up caught in one of their illusions, he would be screwed. Kira had said that a genjutsu from a fully evolved Sharingan would be a challenge to break even for his Shinkarugan. Zabuza cleared his throat after seeing not only Kakashi reveal his Sharingan eye, but for Naruto to take on his more animalistic looks. Even his own teammates were caught off guard by him. It was as if he had gotten more demonic since they had last seen him without his illusion. When I was a ninja for the Kirigakure assassination squad, I possessed the usual bingo book. A kind of who's who of our enemies.
It had quite the write-up on you.
He is the man who has copied over 1,000 jutsu. The copy ninja, Sharingan Kakashi. Everyone had their own reaction to Kakashi's reputation, but they mostly expected it after the bell test. It was just different hearing it aloud. Enough of this. Even as pleasant as this conversation has been, the time for talk is over. I'm on a tight schedule to polish off the old man, said Zabuza as he shifted his glare from Tazuna to Kakashi, but I suppose I'll have to kill you first, eh Kakashi? With that said, Zabuza vanished from sight and reappeared standing on the nearby lake, his hands already forming the seals for a jutsu. Ignoring Sakura's statement that Zabuza was walking on water, Naruto focused on studying the seals and chakra movement to try and learn whatever jutsu was being used. It was no easy task. Even with all the training he had done with his dojutsu, trying to keep track of hand seals and the chakra flow was difficult, but at least this jutsu seemed easy enough. To begin, I will show you the finest of the ninja arts. Kirigakure no Jutsu, hidden mist jutsu, called Zabuza as a thick mist rolled in covering the land. Hinata instantly activated her Byakugan with a single hand seal in response. Be on your guard, everyone, Kakashi warned, eyeing the mist with trepidation. Momochi Zabuza of the Kirigakure Anbu Corps is a famous master of the art of silent killing. Letting your guard down around him buys you a direct trip to heaven. Hinata-chan, can you follow him? Asked Naruto as he maneuvered to the center of the group as Sasuke took a position against his back. Hinata focused as hard as she could, but, not reliably, Naruto-kun, this mist is laced with enough chakra that I can just barely follow him. If he thickens it much more, I won't be able to follow him at all. Well, there goes our trump card, Dobi. And here I thought your girlfriend would be our secret weapon here. Now none of us can follow him, said Sasuke as he kept facing the client against Naruto's back. Ignoring Sasuke's girlfriend comment until later, Naruto focused on the mist surrounding them. Oh, hell no. Silent or not, I will be able to find him, he thought with a smirk on his face, as his eyes easily saw through the technique by tracking Zabuza's chakra signature. This mist may be laced with chakra, but Zabuza still has far more than what's floating in the mist. He won't be able to hide from me in it unless he's barely alive. Naruto couldn't help but widen his smirk as he read Zabuza's jutsu. It wasn't the hardest thing to do, but Naruto was sure there were harder ones out there. So this mist isn't a sweetened jutsu? All it does is condense the water in the air into a mist, very useful. But how did I know it wasn't a sweetened jutsu? As the world around Naruto seemed to slow to a crawl, he heard Kira's voice as she said, "It's because you have unlocked your second level of the Shinkarugen, Naruto-kun. You actually did it a while back, but your eyes needed time to fully awaken and adjust." Second level, Kira-chan? Cool, so our dojutsu has multiple levels like the Sharingan? What does it do, Kira-chan? Asked Naruto, sounding like a kid with a new toy. Well no, not levels per se, but every kitsune advances at their own pace. That's why I said, your second level. But it's not that you have gained any new abilities, Naruto-kun. You have only improved on using the ones already there. Your ability to perceive the aura of chakra has reached the next level, as well as a few others' abilities. Before, all your perception of the chakra aura allowed you to do was to predict an enemy's movement with your enhanced vision, as well as decipher jutsu. Now that you have reached this second level, you are able to determine what element a jutsu is as it's being performed by watching the ninja manipulate their chakra. You will also be able to tell someone's chakra alignment if you study them long enough, but that's beside the point. The main enhancement is your ability to track a person's chakra signature, as well as memorize it. Wait, I thought you said we couldn't memorize things like the Sharingan can? No, we can't. Our dojutsu only allows the memorization of the chakra aura. The Sharingan memorizes whatever it sees, whether the user wants to or not. Think of it as your eyes associating a chakra signature with a certain person, like a fingerprint. Your eyes just store it away as connected to that person to be called up at will, like an automatic filing system. So this second level basically allows me to identify someone, but only if I've seen them before. Wait, If I can memorize chakra auras, doesn't that mean I can memorize the chakra flow of a jutsu now as well? Getting quicker, are we Naruto? Kun? Yes, this means you will be able to do that as well, but only temporarily. A chakra signature is unchanging, so it's very simple to memorize and store, but the chakra flow for a jutsu is complex and will fade from your mind within a few hours of you seeing it. But for that time, it will be as if you yourself knew it. So from now on, all I need to do is worry about memorizing the hand seals. Things just keep getting more interesting. As Naruto's mind returned to the present time after Kira's voice had faded, he almost recoiled when he heard, "There are 8 targets," Zabuza's voice called out, eerily shaking Naruto from his train of thought. It was like something out of a horror film directed by Morino Ibiki, starring Mitarashi Anko as the axe murderer. He had only met the 2 shinobi in passing, but was assured that he didn't want to meet either again. Throat, spinal column, lungs, liver, the jugular vein, clavier artery, kidney, heart, so many choices. What vital and vulnerable place shall I choose? Hey. Everyone take up the swastika formation. Your job is to protect Tizuna. Leave Zabuza to me, called Kakashi. All 4 of the genin surround Tizuna just as they were ordered. Naruto and Sasuke taking the front to back as the girls took up the left and right. Naruto smirked as the laughter died down, intimidation tactics, and not bad ones either. His killing intent is even better than what I can produce, but this won't have very much effect on my team after all the times I've used it against them. Besides, Kira Chans puts this to shame. Good plan though, make them piss themselves in fear, and they'll start wishing for you to kill them. Naruto noticed Kakashi doing a set of seals and his smirk grew. That's 2 new techniques I've learned today. All because of this hit and miss Junin too. Kira Chan, you were writing all these down in there, aren't you? Of course, but it's not like you wouldn't remember them anyway, Naruto. Kun, replied Kira as she was lounging in the recliner with a pad of paper in her hands, watching everything that was happening through the window. Sasuke, you need to calm down, said Kakashi, causing the Uchiha to startle slightly and Naruto to turn his attention to his teammate, only to snort as he noticed the kunai currently raised at the Uchiha's throat. Even if he gets me, I'll still protect you. I know this isn't affecting you as bad as it could, but if you tense up you will just die. The Junin smiled happily at the Uchiha. I will never let my comrades die. Naruto snorted softly in amusement. Big words from a Mizu Bunshin, you better watch out, Kaka. He'll be here in a moment. I wouldn't bet on that, Zabuza stated, appearing right in the middle of them, ready to swing at Tizuna. That is, until Naruto shoved a clawed hand straight through his chest from behind, followed closely by Kakashi shoving a kunai through Zabuza's side. That Suiru no Jutsu, water prison, may come in handy at some point, Naruto muttered, watching as Kakashi floundered inside. But the lack of mobility is a hindrance, as that is how we will get Kakashi Sensei out. Plus, the fact that you lack any training in one-handed seals makes it rather useless for now. From what I understand, Naruto Kun, one-handed seals are different for everyone who uses them. It will take time, and we also don't have a copy of them. At that moment, Zabuza's Mizu Bunshin charged with impressive speed, sending the blonde genin flying with a hard kick and a punch to the jaw, forcing his Hittai 8 to come loose and be trapped under the Bunshin's foot as it sneered at the gathered genin. As Naruto was standing after the blow, he couldn't help but think, what the hell? I saw him coming. I followed and predicted his moves. I even should have moved in time, so how did he hit me? That, Naruto Kun, is the difference between a Junin and others, the ability to adapt and confront any opponent. If you had waited to react until the last second, it would have worked, but because you moved before you had to, Zabuza was able to adjust and still land the blow. The abilities of your eyes increased slightly with level 2, so we will need to train you again to predict movements. Not much use seeing the move ahead of time if you can't react properly. You sure seem to be taking this lightly. It felt like he broke a few of my ribs with that one. He did, but don't worry, you are already almost done healing. It seems he was going to take it easy on you until you almost dodged. He must think of you as a slight threat now, and was trying to take you out early. Oh joy! Replied Naruto as he stood up to hear Kakashi. Everyone listen carefully. Take Tizuna and go. Kakashi cried out from the prison. You can't win this fight, and he can't leave this spot if he wishes to hold me. His Mizu Bunshin will lose its integrity the further it gets from him. So get as far away as you can. The others were about to do as they were ordered when Naruto charged the Zabuza's Bunshin again. The Bunshin moved to kick him away again, and it connected, but at the cost of the blonde landing a solid rake across its chest with his claws. But before he was sent flying away, the blonde had achieved his goal, retrieving his headband. Naruto stood with a slight wobble. "You can threaten me, you can hit me, and you can even try to kill me," Naruto muttered, rubbing the blood off his chin as Zabuza watched the gash heal with slight worry. "I'm used to that, so it means nothing to me." He lifted the Hitai, ate up and tied it back on his forehead instead of around his neck once more. "But try to take this from me, one of the few things I've worked hard to achieve, and I'll come at you with everything I've got, even if it kills me." He tightened the headband with a tug. "That's my Nindo and no one will stop me from keeping it." Then, as Naruto stared down the man with his piercing red slit eyes with blue flames circling them, Zabuza couldn't help but flinch. "How about you and I have some fun, you eyebrow waxing freak? What do you think you're doing?" pleaded Kakashi. "It's over. It was over the moment I got caught. You have no chance against a Junin." Zabuza growled at the reference to his eyebrows, wondering what the kid was made of after seeing that he let himself be hit like that just for a headband and to put a light scratch on his Bunshin. It seemed absolute stupidity. Then, to everyone's shock, Zabuza's Mizu Bunshin dissolved into a light green bubbling puddle. "What happened to my Bunshin?" screamed Zabuza. Naruto asked, grabbing everyone's attention. "Oh, you like? You see," he exclaimed, dragging his claws along a tree's side so that everyone could hear the hiss and see the tree's bark melt away, leaving precise scratches. "My claws are not just for show." Everybody but Hinata was in total disbelief. "I wasn't sure if my acid would work on your Bunshin, but I guess the jutsu depends on the water being a certain density," said the person, who was trying to warn their friend or enemy to stay away from the claws at all costs. With a growl audible, Zabuza lifted his hand to form multiple Bunshin. "Sasuke," Naruto called over his shoulder to get the Uchiha's attention. "You think you're up for a little rumble? He looks like he's ready to play." "You have to ask?" the Uchiha retorted, smirking. Naruto nodded, looking at Sakura and Hinata. "Sakura, protect the elderly man. There shouldn't be any deaths here. If they get close, the taijutsu I taught you should be very effective against his Bunshin. A strong chakra shock should cause them to disappear. Now that the fog has lifted, Hinata, I'm depending on your Byakugan to keep an eye on everyone. In order to help protect the elderly man, stay with Sakura and make sure you always keep an eye on his Bunshin." With the exception of Hinata, the entire group was staring at Naruto in amazement and asking themselves, where did the blonde idiot go? Sasuke could clearly see that a hot-headed Naruto and a calm Naruto were two very different shinobi as he looked back at his partner. The typical Naruto was kind, laid back, humorous, and driven by a strong desire to grow. Naruto was funny at times, especially when they were learning jutsu moves or listening to Kakashi lecture them, but when they were fighting, Naruto was something else entirely. Naruto's eyes became more piercing and his attitude almost cold. Sasuke realized that the Naruto he knew from his academy days was no longer there, and anyone who believed otherwise was an idiot as he continued to look at the back of his teammate. This Naruto posed a threat. "Ready, Sasuke?" Naruto exclaimed, turning to smirk at Zabuza and saying, "First, ladies, Zabu-chan. Or should I accept that sword as payment for something?" The nickname and the slight disparagement of his endowment infuriated Zabuza. How in the world did this kid manage to look so damn cocky, he wondered. "I want to shove Kabikuri Hucho down his throat in order to get rid of that annoying grin." "You seem to be very confident in yourself," he muttered, trying not to lose his cool. "But you're delusional if you actually think you stand a chance against me, little boy." Hard talk from a guy that's so afraid of Kakashi Sensei that he trapped him in a jutsu that renders both user and victim immobile, a visibly unimpressed Naruto snorted. Once again, Zabuza scowled before chuckling in a way that bordered on the ominous. "Apparently you don't plan to live very long." Slowly, he raised his free hand. "Pretending to be real ninjas while playing pretend. But me, too." In a mocking gesture, Zabuza held his hand up to his face in a claw-like manner. "By the time I'd reached your age, I'd already dyed these hands in the blood of my opponents." As Kakashi growled in his cell, the whole group, including Naruto, flinched at this. "The demon of the bloody mist, Muchi Zabuza." Looking interested, Zabuza nodded and said, "Seems like my reputation preceded me." Long ago. In Kirigakure, which even today is known as the village of the Bloody Mist. Kakashi said, maintaining eye contact with his kidnapper. The final test for any potential shinobi was the most inhumanely difficult thing imaginable. Impressed, Zabuza said to his prisoner, "Oh, so you've heard of our little graduation exercise." Even though he knew deep down that he didn't want to know, Naruto scowled and asked, "Graduation exercise?" Twitchy, what the devil are you talking about? When Zabuza looked up, the level of sadistic humor in his eyes was almost demonic. He started laughing again, lowering his head, and said, "It was a killing spree, among classmates." Sakura appeared extremely pale, and Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata all had their eyes pop open. Just thinking about it made Tazuna green. Students who had grown up together as friends were then divided into pairs and fought to the death to prove themselves worthy shinobi, Kakashi said, looking disgusted. Think of it. Students that had trained together, lived together, and shared each other's hopes and dreams, he said, glancing over his students to make his point. Sakura trembled with fear and flinched. She covered her mouth and whispered, "That's terrible," as Hinata inadvertently drew nearer to her. Kakashi nodded and agreed. 10 years ago, the elders of Kirigakure were forced to enact a sweeping reform of their barbaric graduation ritual, because of the appearance of a human fiend the previous year that made the reform essential. Sakura raised her gaze and asked, "What kind of reform?" With the curiosity of the highest. Scoring kunoichi. With closed eyes, Zabuza lowered his head. "What topic are you discussing? How did the fiend behave?" The kunoichi questioned, trembling. Kakashi sighed. Without a moment's hesitation, without the slightest hint of a qualm, a boy that hadn't even qualified as a ninja yet, butchered over 100 members of that year's graduating class, he glared as his eyes snapped open. With a smile that conveyed sadistic delight, Zabuza raised his head and said, "Ah yes. Fun times. I used to really enjoy myself." The genin flinched in fear as he looked at them. This guy butchered that year's graduates? And he hadn't even qualified as a ninja himself? Shivered Naruto, who was completely taken aback. And a lot of people back home call me a monster. If that's true, then this guy's a full-fledged devil. So it would appear, Naruto-kun, but remember he only acts like one. We really are. Naruto sighed. Still, a killing spree among graduates? That's just stupidity. You'd lose half your prospective shinobi in the process, and surely alienate certain members of society. You would definitely only have the best of the year, but to lose that many lives? Humans are renowned for their cruelty to their own kind, even among the Biju during the war. I'd expect nothing less from a village that is proud to bear the title of Bloody Mist. I would like to avoid it in the future. Hearing Sasuke cry out after being struck by one of the new Mizu Bunshin made Naruto jump. With a curse, Naruto summoned about 20 Kage Bunshin to attack and rescue Sasuke. In an attempt to stop the two clones in front of him from giving Sasuke the final blow, Naruto moved as fast as he could to swipe at them. Regretfully, despite his apparent superior speed compared to Zabuza's Bunshin, he could only strike one. Even with the Kage Bunshin, the insane man was still able to read his movements. All of the clones attempting to tackle the second and third Mizu Bunshin were flung off with considerable force and dispelled as they struck the ground with a single blow of the enormous sword. Naruto was not pleased with what he saw as he peered around. Despite the fact that they were only 10% of Zabuza's strength, they were still far too powerful for him to handle. If this is only 10% of Zabuza's all, then what the hell am I supposed to do here? 2, 6, 8, 13. I have 13 Kage Bunshin left to work with, and 2 Zabuza to deal with to get to the original since that one Eye-Clawed should be dissolving any moment. My sword's powers are useless here since those damn clones are made of chakra and water. Not that I'd land a hit anyway. It seems rather ironic that a weapon as powerful as my sword is useless against simple clones, and even if my Yoko Kiwa, Crimson Edge, would work, this guy is a Kenjutsu user. I'd be crushed in a sword fight against this guy. What do I do? When force doesn't work, Naruto-kun, then deception is the only option. I know that, Kira-chan, but this guy was a Junin before leaving his village. He even tricked Kaka-sensei. I could try that genjutsu, but the guy's style is called silent killing, so I doubt that would bother him. He may even like it. He's also shown that he can predict my moves even though I'm faster than him, and since I stopped wearing my weights, I don't have that advantage either. That's true, Naruto-kun. You're outskilled in Kenjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, ninjutsu, and fighting experience. You may have more power than him, but that's no use since he won't let you land a hit, but sometimes, the obvious can be a shadow for the unexpected. Naruto's mind replayed Kira's words. It was just a tidbit at first. He thought it would be something to ease his nerves, but then thought, that's it. The obvious into the unexpected. He hasn't taken us seriously since the beginning, so maybe giving him something to underestimate will do it. A massive cloud of pure white smoke engulfed the area, and the original Naruto was the only one standing outside it, defiantly staring across the water at Zabuza. Tajii Kage Bunshin no Jutsu! Cried Naruto. But before Zabuza could say anything, the smoke was lifted by a gentle breeze from the ocean, revealing an army of clones. It started with a snap of Naruto's fingers, encircling the girls and Tizuna as well as both of the Mizu Bunshin. Sasuke rolled away as the massive street fight broke out, clutching his ribs from where the Bunshin had hit him. What he was witnessing was beyond belief. As if it were nothing, Naruto had just made over 100 clones with ease. Even if Sasuke gave it his all, he could hardly make 10. Sasuke felt a calming sensation on his ribs just as he was beginning to recover from his shock. He looked up to see Naruto with a deadly expression on his face, saying, "We're only going to get one shot at this, so in a few moments, I need you to run out into the center of the Bunshin and wait for my signal." My Kage Bunshin are being dispelled quickly. Sasuke was using nearly all of his body to fight as he stood and moved into the clone war zone. He was being yelled at by them, "Why listen to the Dobi? The plan should be created by you. The Uchiha is you. You are the mastermind." However, there was the truth that he discovered for himself behind every idea of that kind. The unavoidable truth. The Dobi he knew was gone when they faced an enemy, a realization that had only just dawned on him. The person he used to laugh at had vanished. No games, no foolish smiles, and no foolish yelling. This Naruto was someone to be afraid of, someone to avoid at all costs. Naruto yelled, "Sasuke, catch and don't screw this up," as the final one of his clones leapt back to warn Sasuke. "Not bad. Not bad at all, Dobi, and here I thought you were going to try something on your own." Sasuke smirked like a serpent as he caught what he was supposed to, and he did so while flipping the Fuma. Shuriken open. He then threw the spinning blades at Zabuza and yelled, "Demon Wind Shuriken, Windmill of Shadows." Smirking, Zabuza watched the shuriken fly past his clones. "Wise of you to aim at my real body, Gaki," but, he paused, easily catching the first one. "Shuriken are useless against me," he exclaimed, before realizing the second one was still hurtling toward him at an alarming rate. Zabuza leered at the Uchiha and jumped over the second shuriken, thinking, "Kage. Shuriken no jutsu?" He hid a shuriken in the shadow of the first, knowing I would be able to stop it. "Amateur!" exclaimed Zabuza. Just before the shuriken he had just avoided changed into a Naruto with a glowing purple finger aimed directly at him. He heard someone say, "Poof," behind him. As they approached the demon, the blonde exclaimed, "Amateur indeed, you overconfident prick. Kitsune Bai second jutsu, Tsuin. Tama." Twin shot, and then abruptly released two balls of purple flame the size of his torso from the tip of his finger, flash. Boiling the water in front of them. Zabuza only turned red from the intense heat as he turned to face the plummeting blonde and used the spinning Fuma shuriken in his hand to exact revenge. He had to release his grip and leap high into the air to avoid the blazing spheres. With a loud explosion, the two flame spheres collided at that precise moment. The slight shock wave propelled Zabuza straight in the direction of Naruto. For the first time in his life, Naruto felt real fear. He was plummeting into a vast expanse of water, accompanied by a crazy water demon, flying in his direction and casting bloodshot eyes. Not only was Naruto lacking in Suiden Jutsu, but he was also unable to walk on water and had recently depleted his reserves for Kitsune Bai techniques. Just before the demon could regain his balance, Naruto threw his arms out in front of him out of sheer fear. In an instant, out of sheer instinct, Naruto was able to run his claws down Zabuza's side, from shoulder to hip. "AWWWRRRRAAA!" exclaimed Zabuza in agony as he delivered a forceful backhand to Naruto's head that sent him flying toward the shore and into a rather big rock. A rather mind. Numbing crack sound was heard, and Naruto could only think, "Nap sounds nice." Even though Naruto was trying to stay conscious, the pain from that hit was too much for him. When he last saw Hinata, he was running up to him with a horrified expression on his face because Kakashi had started fighting Zabuza again. Trying to get over his splitting headache from crashing into that rock, Naruto turned to face Tazuna, who was carrying the exhausted corpse of Kakashi alongside Sasuke. Kira had mentioned that he had a small crack in the bone, which was brought on by the pressure of the bone and the healing of the muscles. Regretfully, until the bone healed and the pressure decreased, there was nothing he could do to ease the pain. I need some aspirin. I can't believe I remembered to carry everything else, but not basic painkillers, he exclaimed. Just as the shore was being destroyed by Kakashi's Suiden, Daibakufu no Jutsu, water spiral, flood, Naruto woke up after being dragged up into a tree by Sasuke. Unfortunately, Naruto was asleep when he could have copied that in the intriguing Suiden, Suiryuden no Jutsu, water dragon bullet, that Sasuke had told him about. However, to his great happiness, he was awake when he saw the hunter Nin appear and depart with the long-range Shunshin no Jutsu, body flicker. I've wanted to learn that one for a while now, but ever since Kaka Sensei found out that I can figure out jutsu after seeing them performed, he's been so damn careful about what he uses around me. Even if he does use it, he always leaves in that damn smoke cloud. What did you expect, Naruto-kun? He still has little knowledge of your full capabilities, so why would he try to load you with more? We really need to go over the basics again when we get a chance. After everything that's happened with your body recently, we need to make sure everything is working properly. I have a feeling there is going to be something rather troublesome soon. Tazuna-san, which way do we go again? Naruto asked, turning to face Tazuna, but he only nodded. Sakura scowled at Naruto and said, why is Sasuke-kun carrying Kakashi Sensei when he's hurt? Why aren't you doing it instead? After Tazuna gestured in that direction once more. Sighing, 1, because Kakashi drained his chakra in the fight with Zabuza, he needs to be carried by someone. 2, Sasuke is doing it because he is injured as well. While not seriously hurt, his injuries would be more than enough to get him killed in a fight at the moment, which is why you, Hinata, and I need to be free and on alert to protect them and Tazuna. If Tazuna dies, then mission failure, and if we lose Kakashi Sensei and another Junin shows up, then we're screwed. He was about to say something when he looked at her and said, we're on a dangerous mission, Sakura, so please just listen to me this once. I may not be a sensei, but as a medic. Nin, I can even issue an order to the Hokage if I believe it is in the best interests of his health, and I really don't want to deem you mentally unstable in order to take command. Within Tazuna's residence. Now that Kakashi was safely hidden, the group focused on other issues. Specifically, the masked ninja who used only Senbon needles to defeat Zabuza. It was simple for Kakashi to end the fight after the acidic energy from Naruto's claws started to work on Zabuza's left side while he was forming the seals for the Daibakufu no Jutsu. However, because he had kept the Sharingan active during his stay in the water sphere, he had used up all of his reserves. The elite of the Kirigakure ninjas hunter Nins, known as the Undertaker Squad, wear those kinds of masks, Kakashi clarified while Naruto attended to his wounds and, much to Kakashi's surprise, was even somewhat replenishing his reserves. They're called that because they dispose of corpses so thoroughly, it's as if they never existed. Then, with wide eyes, Naruto pulled out his notebook and started reading up on some notes he had taken on medical conditions. Makes sense. Even after a shinobi's death, their bodies can yield interesting information to those that know where to look. Chakra usage, skills, even the drugs or potion ingredients consumed, he said, nodding his head in understanding. Still looking through his notes, Naruto smirked at Sasuke and said, so much for that old saying, dead men tell no tales. Guess whoever said that never met a ninja in his life? In response, the Uchiha grinned and then winced due to the tightness in his ribcage. With unblinking eyes, Naruto simply reached over and touched Sasuke's chest. Even the Uchiha had to admit to smiling a little at the emotion. Kakashi laughed. In any case, a hunter. Nin specializes in hunting down missing Nin and obliterating their remains in order to ensure their village's respective secrets remain just that. A secret. Too bad Zabuza is still out there walking around. I would have loved to practice my coroner's skills. It would have helped with Hunter Nin evaluations in a few years, Naruto said, his expression pouting as he stared down at a page. Naruto was staring at everyone as if he were crazy. Look here, I have taken notes on dozens of medical techniques, pressure points, and other tricks that I thought would be useful. The needles that Nin threw were in the exact place for what's called near death state. The only way that a wound to the back of the neck could kill is if it severed the spinal cord, and the needles were placed to the left and right of the cord, and if I remember right, they were just about 4 inches deep. Just enough to hit the pressure points. Looking up at the ceiling, Kakashi sighed, acknowledging that Naruto's response might be true. Silently and without a trace. That is how shinobi leave this world, but it seems some of us won't leave easily, he said. With heads bowed, all in the room considered Kakashi's words in their own unique ways. Sakura shuddered at the thought of Zabuza still alive, waiting to return with his enormous knife swung over his head. The morning mist was just dissipating when 2 figures were spotted in a clearing as the sun had just begun to rise. Just as they were about to finish cleaning the wound on his left side, the hunter Nin leaned back over Zabuza's body and got ready to cut the bandages off his face. The hunter was taken aback when Zabuza's hand unexpectedly grasped their arm. Then, in a low voice, Zabuza exclaimed, "Enough, I can do it myself." When they uttered the words, "Well now. Awake already, are we?" The hunter Nin simply laughed. Zabuza exclaimed, "You have all the finesse of a butcher." As he abruptly grabbed the needles that were still lodged in his neck with his right hand and roughly removed them. "Please be careful pulling those out, Zabuza. Sama. If you're not careful, you really will kill yourself in your weakened condition," the hunter said, watching as a tiny spray of blood burst from Zabuza's neck. "I will not die from something so simple. How long do you plan on wearing that ghoulish mask? It's starting to get unsettling. Take it off," was all Zabuza could say as he watched in frustration. When the mask was taken off, the hunter simply laughed softly, displaying a lovely face. The hunter greeted Zabuza with full lips, smooth skin, and silky ebony hair, adding, "Old habits die hard. And besides, I doubt I would have gotten you out of there safely without it." Zabuza finished, his hand resting on his sword. "You were one sadistic bitch. Any number of points would have done. But you didn't have to target my neck to put me into the death state." "Exactly, besides the back of the neck is a much easier place to target the points at. If I hadn't hit on the first try, it would have looked suspicious. A normal death state would take a week to recover from, and normally it would take you less time, Zabuza. Sama, but it seems that the poison that boy used on you has seriously harmed the muscles on your left side. Not to mention that fire type attack has left several burns on your back. If it wasn't for that blonde, you would have completed the mission easily after trapping the copy Enin in the water prison." Zabuza simply tightened his grip as he scowled. "Yes, that boy was inconvenient. I never thought to consider such a brat a threat, but it won't happen next time. How long will it take for me to fully recover? My left arm still won't move. I would say a week and a half at least, maybe more. It seems that poison was some form of acid. I'm not sure exactly how it works, because I wasn't able to get a sample before it was washed away. It did do some serious damage though, but I'm sure someone like you will recover quicker. You are so innocent, so guileless, no doubt it's why I like you." The hunter paused for a moment and gazed out at the water. Well, I am only a child. Next time, will you be alright? The mist has lifted without us even noticing it. Next time I'll break the Sharingan, and that boy won't surprise me again. Naruto, was it? You and I have a debt to settle, boy." Most of the time, the group of genin was either healing and adjusting to their new surroundings or simply attempting to accept Zabuza's continued existence. According to what Naruto had said, Kakashi had passed out again after the discovery and wouldn't wake up for around a day. Sakura and Hinata were asked to patrol on a regular basis by Naruto until he and Sasuke recovered. To pass the time until his ribs healed, Sasuke mostly read from a scroll and practiced hand seals for some jutsu. Naruto took care of Sasuke's ribs and healed Kakashi as usual, but he was beginning to worry about himself. For some strange reason, Naruto was finding it extremely difficult to master his chakra in order to use his medical jutsu. When he tried to shape his chakra for anything, even a small burst of foxfire or a simple scanning jutsu, it was as though something was holding it back. With the time he spent gathering the energy, he should have been able to summon a shot even with his foxfire energy depleted, but he was unable to hold it. Whereas it had flowed freely before, now it felt as though he had to force it forward. Following his alarming admission, Naruto spent time with Kira attempting to determine the cause of his issues. Naruto was growing increasingly anxious after spending several hours scanning jutsu and attempting different little jutsu. He was simply unable to deduce anything from his scans. He didn't seem to be able to use his chakra to provide a clear enough vision to identify the cause. When he scanned, everything came back hazy, as if his chakra was layered over a thicker one. Never before has the proverb, "Doctor, heal thyself," been more true. He wouldn't be able to use medical jutsu or even foxfire if he lost a lot more control. What the hell is going on, Kira-chan? I had a little trouble when I fought Zabuza, but I thought that was just from my healing pulling on more chakra than normal, or maybe just not being used to fighting with the Shinkarugen active, thought Naruto, not anticipating an immediate response. Speaking softly from inside Naruto's mindscape, Kira said, "Naruto-kun, I found out what's happening, and it is really going to cause some problems that we don't need right now." Naruto merely needed to recline a bit to create the appearance that he was napping and to emerge inside his mindscape. Within the library, den of Naruto's mind. "As long as I know what is going on, Kira-chan," said Naruto with a worried look on his face. Naruto, while inside his mindscape, was back to wearing black pants, black sandals, and a tight black sleeveless shirt with his hitai 8 tied around his neck. His hair turned onyx black with crimson tips. The whisker marks on his cheeks widened considerably as his eyes turned a deep violet with slits. His crimson red ears with black tips appear on top of his head, nestled in his hair, and finally 2 crimson red tails with black tips sway behind him gently. It only took Naruto a moment to notice the difference. "Well, I have to admit that the tail was growing on me, but what the fuck is with number 2? Cried Naruto as he grabbed his new appendage. Kira only sighed deeply as she motioned for Naruto to sit down. "Well, Naruto-kun, all I can say is that you have taken one hell of a jump forward. You just can't give up that title of the most surprising ninja, can you?" Naruto at this point only sinks further into the couch as his ears lay back and his tails curl around him. He then asks, "So what exactly does this mean, Kira-chan?" Kira just slowly leans forward and rests her head in her hands as she says, "If the second tail isn't enough of a sign of what's happened, then it's just this simple: you're becoming a full-fledged demon much faster than I originally thought possible." Naruto took a moment to process this before. "How is that possible? You said it would take months, even years maybe, to do that. Your transformation into a demon is completely dependent on your own strength, Naruto-kun. You were just growing much faster than I thought you could. A demon's power is determined by the number of tails it has. Even though a tail has nothing to do with skill, age, element or technique, it has everything to do with how much Yuki a demon possesses. You just have more energy now than I thought you would. To put it simply, you have too much power for your body as it is now to control, so you grew your second tail to relieve some of the pressure." Naruto was starting to understand, but it still didn't help much. "Okay, so I'm simply moving to a second tail because I'm getting stronger, but that doesn't tell me much. What does this mean for me, and how can I already be equal to a two-tailed demon? Just having a second tail doesn't mean you're as strong as all 2 tails. All demons are different, just like humans are. Who knows, there could be a very skilled tail out there that can beat me. A tail is just a show of a demon's status and limits. All demons have the same limits to a tail, but that doesn't mean they are all at the same level of power if they have the same number of tails. You just barely reached your second tail, so if you went up against the 2-tail Biju, you would get your ass handed to you. Actually, you would probably get your ass handed to you even if you had 5. So you're just saying not to get cocky because of tail number 2, right?" asked Naruto to a smirking Kira. "Don't worry. I learned my lesson when I fought Neji, but I would still like to know what tail number 2 has to do with my screwed up chakra control, and how there is such a difference between tails. To be more specific, I believe that the second one grew to help contain all of these abilities you have obtained recently because of your evolutionary jumps. When all of this began, I just thought it would be a matter of time and training for you to advance, like all demons would, but it seems my mistake with your healing has caused some interesting side effects that explains a lot of what has been happening. As for the difference in tails, it is simple as this: a tail is only raw power, nothing more. Even if you have 2 demons that are equal in strength, it would still come down to fighting type and element. Give a genin the power of a Junin and they would just end up blowing themselves up. So all my evolving is what caused this? And the tail is just my way of dealing with it, but the whole element and skill thing makes sense, I guess. Yes, the second tail is the result of it all. Every time you gained a new ability or advanced on one you already had, it caused your body to draw even more on your reserves, increasing the overall strain, causing your body to produce more raw power. Ideally, your body would regulate the draw of energy effectively so this wouldn't happen, but since you weren't born with these abilities, your body never truly integrated them or learned to deal with them. Think of them as just extras. When your body went through the change for your poison, it pushed you to the brink, and when you reached the second level of the Shinkarugen, it broke. With the second tail, you're able to draw on more of Mayuki to help the demand of your abilities instead of being under such strain. That's another reason for your trouble. Your energy is floating on top of mine. Doesn't sound like anything new to me, Kira-chan. It just means more training, right? Naruto at this point was just listening. Kira just had to smile as she continued, with the second tail, your chakra is mixing more evenly with my Yuki. Normally I try to only allow minute amounts of Yuki to mix with your chakra. That is why you are having trouble with your control now. Before, the mix was 10% Yuki to 90% chakra, which also causes the slightly darker color. Now with the second tail and the demands of all your new abilities, the mix is closer to 25% Yuki to 75% chakra, but because your body is still confused about the abilities, it is constantly drawing on Mayuki to the point where it won't mix anymore, because your chakra can only hold so much at its current level of development. Naruto was nodding his head, because for some reason, he actually understood it. So you're saying normally my chakra is able to absorb the Yuki you allow to slip through and use it as it likes, but because I needed to draw on more than normal, it got to the point where my chakra couldn't mix with any more Yuki and is now being forced around by your Yuki. That is what's causing my chakra control issues, correct? Blinking several times in complete shock, Kira couldn't help but think, normally I only explain these things to him because it helps me figure it out easier, but he actually understood me? She had to stop and smile. Yes, Naruto-kun. Whenever I speak about our energies mixing, I'm referring to your total reserves and only what I add to it. As it was, out of your chakra reserves, 25% comes from me and was overtaken by you. But as of now, the chakra and Yuki are floating like oil and water. If it continues like this for much longer, my Yuki will completely overtake your chakra and cause, well, honestly, I'm not sure. Ever since the Cage Bunshin training, it has been as if Mayuki was second nature for you in amounts lower than what would activate your seals. If any more than that was drawn on, I think we would be back to it damaging your circulatory system, but to what extent I'm not sure. That doesn't sound so bad. I've been wondering when I would be able to use your Yuki again. How long will it take for my body to adjust to the new mix or for your Yuki to recede so I can have my chakra control again? Well, remember when the change first happened, and you were wrapped in my Yuki? Asked Kira, only to see Naruto nod dumbly with a look of recognition. Last time it took 9 hours for everything to happen. This time, it will take about 8 as far as I can tell. Finished Kira with a light chirp. Naruto just looked on for a few moments with several emotions crossing his face. Interest, confusion, and finally understanding. I would guess I can assume that this will happen every time I get a tail? Or is this just me? Just like every other demon when they do. If you had a demon form, it would grow larger when you gained tails. You see, demons don't change over time with age like other creatures. It all happens at once for us. Also, certain tribes of demons gain special abilities or other elements when they reach higher tail counts. I myself actually started out as an earth spirit and gained my water element with my 5th tail. It's really is no big deal for you, Naruto-kun. All this will mean is a slight strengthening of your coil system, a few cosmetic changes, and also the integration and possible elimination of some of your abilities. Basically, you are going to get a tune-up with every tail. Let's put it that way. Okay, I get that this cocoon energy thing normally happens to increase a demon's size and do other minor things. For me, it means strengthening my body to handle more power, but what do you mean by integration and elimination? Kira had to think for a moment. Right now, all your abilities are working separately because they came in one at a time and never integrated with each other when they awakened within you. Like if you had grown extra arms but they did whatever they wanted. All of your abilities try to draw on your body's resources to work, and are literally fighting over who gets what. That is another reason why you feel weird. Now that I am taking care that no more mutations can happen, when this cocoon, as you so eloquently put it, forms, this time I have altered it so it will reset everything about your body. This will link up all your abilities and functions to work properly together if possible. This also means some may be destroyed because it is impossible for them to work together, or they may combine into a new ability, or maybe nothing will change at all. But the one thing that I am sure about is whatever comes out of this will be final. No more mutations or surprises, maybe a new element down the line, but I'm certain that will be it. Naruto had a slight twitch to his eye as he said, "So I'm going to be reset like an alarm clock? Does this mean my memories too? Am I going to lose all of my training? Please don't tell me I'll have to balance the damn kunai again." "No, Naruto. Kun, you will still remember everything, and your training will mostly still be there. All this will mean is going through your chakra control exercises and jutsu again, but you do that almost every other day anyway as regular training. Having your chakra being more like Yuki could cause some changes as well. We will also need to find out what has changed and stayed the same about you, but that should only take a few days." Kakashi was planning some kind of training anyway. Just think of this as something to add on. Sounds like I'm back to square one again. Why do these things keep happening to me? You are the container of the strongest demon ever known, have become a demon and are growing stronger as one, have ancient items that shouldn't exist, an unknown clan in history, and have a new power pop up every few weeks. If I didn't see everything happen myself, I would swear I was reading a bad manga or sci-fi novel. Kira then takes a breath and takes Naruto's hand as she says, "It's just one more thing and another problem to deal with. I never said it would be easy to become a demon, Naruto. Kun. But at least from this point on I can say I am sure that there shouldn't be any more surprises other than what elements you will get. You always make these problems seem simpler than they are, Kira. Chan. You were right though that it's just more training that I would have done anyway. Yup, and the Cyclops should be out for another day, so we can start in the morning. Maybe you could bring your teammates too." "Why in the morning, Kira? Chan? It's still early, so we could go start now?" "I said, in the morning, because we are going to finish copying the scroll before the cocoon forms. That way, your body can adjust to those changes in there as well. You need rest just like everyone else. Now grab a brush and get writing. The energy for the cocoon is already building in your tattoos and should form in 3 days, so be sure to make something up to tell the others, and get Hinata Chan to back you up because your seals will look like a lantern festival from a distance. Not to mention up close." With a deep sigh and the look of someone that has accepted their fate, Naruto began another horrible battle with the undefeatable enemy paperwork. Kira Chan, what's a manga? The next morning. It had been another day before Kakashi woke up again after passing out from his overuse of the Sharingan. It seemed that the strain of the Sharingan and the stress from the fight with Zabuza had been too much for Kakashi's body, even with Naruto's care. Sakura was sure to point these facts out to the new medic, much to his irritation. They had all just barely survived the first fight with Zabuza. If it wasn't for Naruto and Sasuke freeing Kakashi, they would have all died. The plan of the two boys was a stroke of genius and luck, and it was a certainty that it wouldn't work again. Tsunami, Tizuna's daughter, had come in a moment ago to check on everyone, and when she noticed the tense air, as well as the freaked look on her father's face from hearing the group discussing their options, she just had to ask. "What is wrong with all of you? It's as if your pet died?" Or Sakura said she was cooking again, commented Sasuke without thinking. Everyone had to have a light chuckle. Even Sakura was slightly giggling. Naruto finally composed himself, saying, "Who knew Sasuke could tell a joke, miracle and all aside, this really isn't the time to joke. It is more than likely that Zabuza is still alive. If he is, then that means the hunter. Nin was helping him. We have 2 Junin level shinobi after us. Even if Kakashi Sensei is healed and ready to go, we are still at a major disadvantage. Kakashi seems to be equal with Zabuza, so that leaves the hunter to us." Naruto pointed to the other 3 genin. "There is no way that the 3 of you are ready for that as you are now, and even if my body wasn't messed up, I don't think I could take a Junin by myself." "That's for sure, Dobi, and what is this that we are not ready? From how you're talking, it sounds as if you are saying you're stronger." "I doubt you could even beat me," said Sasuke as he stood over Naruto. "I'm not saying that I'm better than you, Sasuke, I just have things that give me power in case of emergency, but it comes at the cost of damaging my body. If that's the case, how long will it take to fix your body? Just in case we need these emergency precautions?" asked Sasuke, looking for answers. "My body should be fixed in about 2 days, but that doesn't mean that I will be back to normal. It will take time to get everything with my body straightened out, maybe 2 or 3 days more." Overwhelming an opponent with raw power can work on a Chunin or lower shinobi, but a Junin requires more skill than power. Kakashi decided to say, Naruto is right. All four of you are strong for Genin, most likely verging on Chunin, but a Junin is a whole other thing. I may have an idea for a quick boost in your abilities, but I need to have a time frame. Kakashi then turns to Naruto and asks, how long until I'm up and running normally? Naruto took a moment to look Kakashi over. I would say 3 days if you don't move around much and I continue the treatments. Normally, you would be out for a week from chakra exhaustion and still be nowhere near 100%, but with me treating you and adding to your chakra pool like I have been, you should be up in 2 days and back to full in 3 to 4. That's good to hear. That will give me time to train you all, and as for Zabuza, normally I would say he would be out for a week after a near death state, but with the damage Naruto did to him, I'm not sure, said Kakashi as he looked over his genin. Everyone turned to Naruto as he was looking through his notebook again and then began to speak. I'm no expert on this, but the average for a person to recover from a near death state is a week like you said. You see, the brain and its electrical signals are disrupted by this and take time to reorient themselves. As for my poison, it's no more than a powerful acid. Unless it was able to reach an internal organ or seriously degrade the muscles, any nin could heal the wounds in a matter of days. So we have 2 weeks at best and just a week at worst to prepare for our next meeting with the Demon of the Mist, thought Sasuke aloud as he looked at Kakashi. I really don't see how some last-minute training is going to help us. If we had a month, then I could see it helping. Even a new jutsu won't fix this. As Sasuke stopped and looked down, everyone could feel the seriousness of the situation. By the way, Dobi, how is it that you have acid in those claws of yours? Was all Naruto could say, not expecting the question. Why do you want to know that? You've never been interested in my medic stuff before, Sasuke? It is something to do with you, Naruto. Sasuke then paused after the shocked faces of everyone. That's why I'm interested, your medic. Nin techniques are something you do. That's why I don't care about them, but this poison has something to do with your body, so it concerns the team. As Naruto looked around the room, he noticed the interested looks on everyone's faces, as well as a peeping one just outside the door. With a sigh, Naruto looks at Sasuke and asks, do you have a kunai or shuriken you wouldn't mind losing? Everyone looked even more confused, but Sasuke handed Naruto a kunai anyway. Naruto then deactivated his partial Shinkarugen, allowing everyone in the room to once again see his more animalistic features, causing Tsunami and the Peeper to jump. Team 7 and Hinata all looked at Tsunami strangely for a moment until Sakura asked, what's wrong? You're acting like you just saw a monster? Tsunami shook slightly until she said, D. Didn't you just see him change into A? Don't worry, I may look scary, but I don't eat people, said Naruto with a warm smile that went just perfectly with his foxy features. His expression seemed to set Tsunami at ease. Changed? Asked Sasuke with a frown. The Dobi didn't do anything other than take my kunai. The rest of the shinobi nodded along with this as both of the wave citizens looked incredulous. Actually, said Naruto as he turned to look at the others, I'm rather uncomfortable with other people seeing my looks. You see, I use my Dujutsu's ability of manipulating the minds of others to implant the suggestion that I look normal. Everyone in the room, including Kakashi, looked back astonished until Sasuke asked, what do you mean? Are you saying you keep your Dujutsu active for countless hours on end just to make everyone think you're normal? Even for you, the amount of chakra would be incredible to do something like that. Besides, you haven't looked any different since you stopped suppressing your chakra. You're right, Sasuke. Keeping my Dujutsu active all the time would be impossible. Even when I'm fully rested, the most I can maintain my Shinkarugen for is about 2 hours. But if that's true, then you just lied to us, Naruto, said Sakura standing from her seat. No, I didn't lie. You see, said Naruto as he pointed to his slightly glowing blue eyes, I can partially activate my Dujutsu, which takes a lot less chakra to maintain. At this stage, I can only use suggestion and nothing more. That's why none of you thought I looked different. Not only are you all familiar with me, but you have also had training to strengthen your minds. But for someone who doesn't know me, or a non-shinobi, it works just fine. Naruto then uses the kunai to slice open his hand, covering the blade with his dark and strangely thick blood. He then set it on the floor and waited quietly, only to hear, Naruto. No. Baka, I swear you are a masochist or something with how you are always, but the words died in Sakura's throat as everyone in the room heard the light bubbling and hissing of the metal being eaten away. Everyone had their own reactions to seeing the weapon disappearing. Sakura for her part was just out of her area as she watched the metal weapon disappear. It just wasn't in her to try and figure it out, so she just moved next to Sasuke to wait for an explanation. Hinata already knew about what Naruto's new blood could do, but seeing it was something new. She just decided to move next to Naruto as he explained everything. Kakashi was just staring at the black puddle that was once a kunai in interest, at least until the puddle opened up a hole in the floor and began to eat away at the ground beneath. I better be sure not to try and bandage any of Naruto's wounds from now on. Luckily, they had placed Kakashi in a room on the bottom floor, since they didn't want to drag him upstairs. Tizuna and Tsunami just looked on with trepidation and slight anger about their floor. Sasuke for once just had to ask, what the fuck just happened? Naruto just held up his blood. Covered palm as he said, when my blood was exposed to the poison from the Demon Brothers, I had thought it had created antibodies to combat poison, like it would for a disease or something like that. But it seems instead of doing that, my body has made my blood unable to sustain foreign bodies, or more specifically, it has made it harder for them. My blood is now a potent type of acid that seems to affect everything but, well, flesh. Diseases and poisons aren't really my thing. I was given the license as a field medic for battle wounds and injuries. I can extract poisons, but working with them is a specialist's job. Everyone in the room flinched at the aspect of acid for blood, and seemed surprised that Naruto had so easily admitted a shortcoming. Sasuke at first was silent, but then decided to ask, so the reason you are immune to poison is because it would be eaten by this acid before it could affect you? What does this have to do with the substance that you used on Zabuza? Naruto cocked his head to the side for a moment in thought. I'm not totally sure about all this yet myself, so I'm just going on what I've discovered so far. It seems that what caused my blood to turn was that my liver stopped processing certain chemicals and toxins out of my blood altogether and instead collected certain ones to make a solution to turn my blood to acid. This not only maintains my blood's acidic quality, but it also provides for my poisons. Everyone seemed to be listening intently as Naruto continued to speak about other acids and effect he had heard of, but Sasuke was far too deep in his own thoughts: acid for blood, poison claws, insane healing, enhanced senses, a dujutsu comparable to the Sharingan. What kind of Kekai Genkai is this? The Uchiha were feared throughout the world because of the power of our dujutsu. The same could be said for the Hyuga, and yet Naruto, an orphan with no family, suddenly has this strong of a bloodline? You would think a clan with such power would have been looked at the same as mine, and yet I have never heard of such a clan. Even if they were wiped out back during the time of the Shodan, there should have been records. Stories of the wars they had won for their village. Even the clans wiped out by Kiri still exist in records and stories of their power. Even if Uzumaki is a name taken years after the original clan was wiped out, his power should tell who he is. His parents should have possessed it. Is it even possible for a Kekai Genkai to remain dormant for generations? Where did you come from, Naruto? Sasuke was torn from his musing as Naruto said, as for your question about my acid, Sasuke, in effect, it works basically the same as any other except for the fact that it is a chakra-based substance instead of a chemical-based one. When my claws are extended and I channel chakra through them, small amounts of my acidic blood are evaporated to mix with the lingering chakra, and since chakra sticks to thing, well, understand? Naruto then scanned the room to see if everyone understood, and he hoped they did. He hated telling people these things. It made him feel like a display. Sasuke did his usual grunt and turned when he decided Naruto, yet again, had something he couldn't. Sakura actually looked disgusted and confused. For some reason, this hurt Naruto more than he thought it would, but he didn't know why he would care what Sakura thought. Hinata was still next to him, just like she had been since they had spoken, and Naruto couldn't believe the comfort he felt from this. It was surprising to get such a feeling from someone other than Kira. Kakashi just seemed as aloof as ever, but you could see the cogs turning. The bridge builder and his daughter just seemed amazed. Sasuke, turning back to Naruto and asked, why is it that when you talk about anything medical you sound like a genius, but when I try to explain a Kaiten jutsu to you it seems like I'm talking to a rock? Naruto looked livid as the gathered shinobi had a good laugh. It's not my fault that you suck as a teacher, Sasuke. Sakura was about to yell at Naruto for insulting her Sasuke-kun, until she saw the soft smirk on her crush's face. It wasn't his, I'm better than you, or his, you're going to get it, that she normally saw. No, This was almost a playful one. Is this what Sasuke-kun looks like when he's happy? Why couldn't I be the one to make him look like this? Why did it have to be an insult from Naruto that made him happy? Well, that is defiantly a unique ability, Naruto. We will have to train with it later and see what it is capable of. Also, I have been meaning to do some one-on-one training with you for some time now. Being a teacher that knows nothing of his students' abilities is in rather bad taste. That's one of the training plans I have for you three. Take some time with each of you and see where you stand and where you need to go, said Kakashi from his prone position. What exactly is your plan for our training, Kakashi? Sensei? You are going to be laid up for another day before you can move, asked Naruto, trying to break up the mood. I plan to increase all of your training schedules, said Kakashi with a slight bounce to his voice. Kakashi. Sensei, Sasuke-kun already asked before, but what kind of training do you plan to have us do in a week to have us ready for a Junin? This is an enemy that almost beat you, even with your Sharingan. Asked Sakura as her inner self raged. Yeah, are you trying to get us killed? Kakashi turned to Sakura as he slowly sat up and asked, and who was it that rescued me when I screwed up? It was Naruto and Sasuke with a devious plan that used their own abilities together. I won't placate you boys or pull some trick to motivate the two of you. Kakashi then looked at the boys seriously. Both of you are already low to mid Chunin. Naruto is overpowered with more tricks than most shinobi could dream of. All you are missing is control and overall skill. I could swear that within the year, you would be high
Chunin to low
Junin. Naruto just beamed for the praise as he looked at Hinata's soft smile. Sasuke, you on the other hand already have the growing skill and sparring experience. You have been trained from a young age and have mastered the jutsu you use to perfection. Your power will only grow from here as long as you keep working hard. I believe you and Naruto could make the perfect team to keep that hunter busy until I have finished Zabuza. Plus, you will have the girls to help. Naruto, you have power and many abilities, but other than your medic skills, you haven't really mastered anything, Kakashi said, giving the dirty blonde a start. Your understanding of medicine seems to be restricted to field practice. You've barely mastered your Juken, Kenjutsu, Ninjutsu, Genjutsu, Taijutsu, and even your Dujutsu. Now you have to deal with this poison. In all honesty, I believe you should take a step back, determine what needs to be learned the most, master those, and then go on to the rest. You will truly weaken yourself if you overextend yourself. To use something effectively in combat, one must know more than just the facts. I'm going to assess your position on all of these during our private training session. Naruto was forced to concur with Kakashi. He had been taking on a lot lately, and despite the fact that, thanks to his Kage Bunshin, he was far more proficient in everything than Kakashi believed, he was still not devoting enough time to anything. How are you doing, Kakashi? Sensei? They say you possess more than 1,000 jutsu. Are you implying that you are an expert in each one? I may know over 1,000 jutsu thanks to my Sharingan, but in battle I really only use 10 or 11 that I have mastered and favor, Kakashi said, glancing at Naruto. Close quarters fighting and taijutsu make up the remainder of my style. Being well versed in jutsu is not particularly noteworthy. You have truly mastered a jutsu when you can call it your own. You have changed it so that it is exclusively yours, and you understand how it operates and can be thwarted. You cannot master a jutsu with the Sharingan. It is only for learning. This infuriated Sasuke, but the genin ignored him. I must admit that I must concur with the Cyclops. As it is, we are a little overworked. He is correct that knowledge alone is insufficient when it comes to jutsu. Perhaps we ought to discover your preference rather than your capabilities, Kira answered from within the mindscape. Naruto questioned, so what should we focus on then? As Kakashi went on to discuss the benefits of learning a subject correctly. Remind me never to question Kakashi about a good work ethic once more. Although the man is sluggish, once you get him going. I propose that we practice taijutsu, medjutsu, and ninjutsu. Since kenjutsu and juken are physical exercises with a small degree of chakra control, they will aid each other in training. In a way, our ninjutsu and jutsu are interchangeable. They rely on the exercises and the consumption of chakras. As you gain battle experience, your dujutsu will progress naturally. Right now, training with it is pretty useless. After Sakura asked Kakashi another question, Naruto got the impression that Sasuke was going to slaughter them all and felt it was his duty to protect them all from Sasuke's emo wrath. Well, that's all well and good, Kakashi Sensei, but what should we do for training until you are able to train us yourself? At last, the door opened, revealing the peeper. It was a small boy with an odd hat on and overalls on. What's the point in training? He asked the boy as soon as he entered. With a questioning expression, the boy was the focus of attention for all the shinobi. Tizuna brightened instantly and let out a shout. Inari, where have you been? Inari walked over and embraced Tizuna, saying, "Welcome home, Grandpa." As she saw her son acting rudely, Tsunami exclaimed, "Inari, please greet our guests properly. They are the ninja who successfully returned your grandfather home." With a flat voice, the young boy said, "But Mama, they are just going to die." This surprised Naruto and the others, and who wouldn't be when an 8-year-old tells you that you're going to die? Flustered, Naruto was on the verge of hitting the child. Though his demeanor had softened in the last few months, he remained prickly. Before Naruto took action, Hinata, the boy's closest friend, made the decision to inquire, saying, "Why would you say such a thing, Lil One? It hurts to hear that, but we came here to help." After surveying the ninja, Inari declares, "No one can beat Gado and his men." Hinata gives the boy a sympathetic glance. Sakura simply approaches Sasuke more closely as a result of the child's lack of interest. "He looks like Sasuke and Hinata." Chan observed Naruto, his eyes understanding. His loss of a close relative was the source of his suffering. Sasuke glared at the boy and only managed a snort. At this point, Naruto makes the decision to try to cheer the boy up, saying, "Don't worry, kid. We came here to stop this Gado and protect your grandfather. You can be confident that we will stop Gado because I never break my promises." "Those 4 are actual living heroes," Naruto declared, gesturing to the other 4 ninja. With a grunt, Inari asks, "Hero? You're ignorant. Nothing like that exists." "Really now?" Naruto glares at the boy with his cobalt slits. "I have many heroes in my life. Superheroes may not exist, but heroes do, and these 4 exist. Maybe this child will believe in if he doesn't believe in heroes." With an even sharper scowl, Inari queries, "Why are you attempting to persuade me? Furthermore, why do you only ever say that those ninjas are heroes? You too, are a ninja?" Everyone looks at Naruto with curiosity as they realize that he wasn't referring to himself when he made his remarks about heroes. With a slow, deliberate movement, Naruto raises his head and unleashes a monstrous amount of his dark blue chakra, which has started to swirl around him and form an air cloud that blocks everyone's vision. Then, through the haze, Naruto glares at the frozen Inari, his blood red eyes piercing the smaller boy with a ring of blue fire burning inside. The killing intent had everyone in the room backed against a wall in fear. Sasuke had even moved on. The civilians were finding it difficult to stand as the pressure inside the room increased. With a terrifying demonic voice, Naruto spoke to Inari as he crouchingly locked eyes with him, saying, "I said they are heroes because they will do what they can to stop that man and return this country to how it used to be. But my only goal is to rip off his head and make him feel the terror he has instilled in others. So be it if doing so leads to helping your house. If you can't believe in heroes, then believe that when a demon wants someone's blood, we do not stop." Naruto then exclaimed, flashing a cunning fox grin. Naruto's demonic visage vanished as swiftly as it had emerged, seemingly disappearing from sight. The return of his illusion left him looking exactly the same, with a faint shimmer and a gust of air from the energy's dissipation. "We are shinobi, kid. We work for pay, and if need be, we will sacrifice our lives to complete the task at hand. Whether you consider us heroes or not, we have been hired to keep your grandfather safe until his bridge is completed, and killing Gado seems like the simplest way to accomplish that." The boy fell on Naruto's behind as he locked his blue eyes with Inari once more. "I do not intend to die here, so you don't need to worry about that man." Everyone in the room was still in shock, thinking aloud about how terrifying they could find Naruto. That just made Sakura wonder, what the fuck was that? "Leave this place ASAP. It's the Dobi that will kill us." After the show, Kakashi was just twitching a little bit. There were no other feelings visible on his face save the tiny beads of sweat running down it. Sasuke was wondering when the Dobi grew to be so big. Although raw power might not be very useful, if you have enough of it, skill becomes irrelevant. if he continues in this manner. Hinata simply retreated to Naruto's side and put her arms around one of his while he continued to stare blankly at Inari. As Inari began to cry and his mother followed him out of the room, the family became extremely alarmed. Tizuna just watched, a little scared, as he fell back and straightened out his sitting posture. What the devil was up with that, Naruto no baka? Sakura yelled, "You scared that poor boy to death." As she menacingly hovered over Naruto, only for Hinata to glare back. Though Hinata's glare was unexpected, it was difficult to ignore any Hyuga glare. Little veins swelled near Hinata's eyes, intensifying the intensity of her stare, and Sakura began to sink back. "Sakura," Naruto uttered softly. "Everyone else here will understand, I'm sure, even though you can't." The boy's eyes were filled with the kind of sadness that results from losing a loved one in an uncontrollable circumstance. Sakura simply trembled upon hearing Naruto's grave voice. All of Kakashi, Sasuke, Hinata, and Tizuna were aware of what Naruto was discussing, and it hurt to hear someone express their emotions so eloquently. It feels like you can't warm up after losing someone. You become cold. Time and family are the only things that matter. Naruto then turns to face Sakura, then the rest of the people in the room. You wouldn't understand what I'm talking about because you haven't experienced loss, so it's a good thing you don't. Usually, what warms you back up again is the love of the family you've left behind. However, there are instances when having family becomes impossible, or the family you do have is worse than having none at all, Naruto remarked, turning to face Sasuke and Hinata. Alternatively, you've experienced cold since birth. However, warmth, friends, and a new family can always be found. After that, Naruto covered Hinata's arm with his own and said, "All you have to do is look for it and be willing to let yourself have it." That boy lost someone precious to him, and now he thinks that he is the only one that has been hurt, Naruto said as they locked eyes. He won't heal and won't even acknowledge that he still has family until he realizes that there are people in the world who have had worse lives than him and finds something to believe in once more. Naruto. Kun is. Are you okay? I'm alright, Kira-chan. We can discuss it later. Alright? Kakashi. Sensei, what was the training you wanted done today? Naruto asked as the entire room fell silent. Even though it's just morning, we still have time. After taking a moment to center himself, Kakashi said, "I really intended for you to take the others out and see what lessons you could impart." Sakura could carry on with her med. Nin Taijutsu. You too could trade jutsu or something else. Hinata, Juken, or whatever you have been practicing. Please make the most of your time because we won't be able to complete the training I have in mind until tomorrow. As they exit the house and make their way toward the nearby forest, every genin nods. Those kids have had hard lives, haven't they? Tizuna lowered his jug and asked. More than you know. Each have had their own challenges to deal with, and all just as hard in their own ways, Kakashi said, turning his head away. Whatever trouble that boy has had, I have to admit he won't have much sympathy from those kids. Trying to get his grandson to relax, Tizuna asked, what is worse than losing your only father? Imagine being treated like a worthless failure by your entire clan of over 230 people after losing your mother at a young age. Or being told that you were too worthless to kill after having your entire clan massacred by a man you once considered to be your brother? Or perhaps you never had a family at all and everyone in your village hates you for something that you did not do? There's no way that boy of yours can use my genin as a sympathy card. Tizuna was silent for a while. What kinds of lives do ninja live? After learning of Sasuke's past, two Kage Bunshin exchange glances right outside the door. The two just give each other a nod as they head back to their positions outside the door, unsure of what it could mean or what to do.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.